WKRP turkey giveaway. So, take it away, Les Nessman.
This is Les Nessman, your man on the scene here at the Pinedale Shopping Center where the excitement is mounting. We're here to witness the big WKRP Turkey Thanksgiving giveaway.
Hey, you got permission to be out here?
What?
You're blocking my store here, buddy.
Don't you know who I am? I'm Les Nessman. I won the Buckeye News Hawk Award last year.
Good for you, Buckeye. Now get out of my doorway.
I'm sorry. Creep.
So far, so good, huh?
I'm here with hundreds of people who have gathered to witness what has been described as perhaps the greatest turkey event in Thanksgiving Day history. All we know for sure is
That in a very few moments, there are going to be a lot of happy people out here. Now, the crowd is curious, but well-behaved. And I think I hear something now. The crowd is moving out into the parking area. And, oh yes, I can see it now. It's a helicopter. And it's coming this way.
A helicopter?
It's flying something behind it. I can't quite make it out. It's a large banner. And it says, Happy Thanksgiving. From WKRP. What a sight, ladies and gentlemen. What a sight. The copter seems to be circling the parking area now. I guess it's looking for a place to land. No, something just came out of the back of the helicopter. It's a dark object. Perhaps a skydiver plummeting to the earth from only 2,000 feet into the air. Second to the third. There's no parachutes yet.
Those can't be skydivers. I can't tell just yet what they are, but... Oh, my God, they're turkeys! Oh, Johnny, can you get this? Oh, they're crashing to the earth right in front of our eyes! One just went through the windshield of a parked car! Johnny, did you careful? The cars running around pushing each other? Oh, my goodness! Oh, the humanity! Running about the turkey...
Woman, I want to ask you, why'd you do that anyway? You know, I thought things were fine just yesterday. Woman, you've got to tell me, spend one more night, baby, sleeping in this lonely bed. You know, I lay here thinking about what you did. You know, I know it was wrong, baby, but I'm ready to forgive. Baby, you've got to tell me what's going through your head. spend one more night. Ooh, sleeping in this lonely bed.
What's happening? Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. So, here we are. Hang on a second here. All right. Looks like I'm back in line here. Hold on a second. Nah, it's too much. Fucking shit. Anyway, yeah, so here we are. And I got a few things planned. As you can tell, I'm moving slow like Uncle Joe. I wish I could say it was the tryptophan that made me do it. But it wasn't. I haven't had any turkey today. But at some point I will. I've got some different stuff here on this other computer. I was gonna run some bootleg Kev Baker show as we get rolling here. I think Bruce is gonna stop by and so on and so forth. Potentially Rio. Not sure about Epic. I think he's in San Diego somewhere. He's at an undisclosed location in a bunker somewhere in San Diego. Alright. I guess there's nothing to do it but to do it. So you're all here, I'm here. Let's, if you guys want, share it out. Hey, thanks. Hang on, Ning. Let's see here. Nigga Shiga Zida. What's happening? It was good to see you. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little bit of music here to get us rolling, and then I'm going to roll some shit from the vault. That's right. I got shit in here I haven't even listened to. And I haven't listened to this, but this here is a one of the last shows. Let's see. We did this with the guest was Ben Emlyn Jones, and we get into a whole bunch of stuff. I know Ben Emlyn Jones is kind of into the. He talks quite a bit about the different phenomena or whatever. So UFOs is one of the things he talks about. He does talk a lot about the paranormal. So I was actually really surprised that he was into these different subjects. Like, he's actually pretty well versed in a lot of subjects. So Ben's a good dude, and so he's on here with Kev and myself. And like I said, I haven't really listened to this too much, this show. So we'll find out, if it was any good. And I'm sure it'll be fun. I vaguely remember this conversation. That's right. But in the meantime, alright, we'll get us rolling here. Hang on. It's the Orphans party.
sky slowly slipping away. Look out my window, it's still raining. Look out my window, oh, still rain, still rain. I thought the morning would rescue me. But the rain keeps falling so endlessly, endlessly, yeah. This the biggest bullshit. I haven't seen any rain dragging around a ball and chain. I haven't seen any rain dragging around a ball and chain. Angel says it's $11:15.
That's right. I am Kev Baker, and this is today's Kev Baker Show. Yes, indeed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are back and we are live. That's right. I am Kev Baker, and this is today's Kev Baker Show. Coming to you from under the Data Dome in Smart City, Glasgow. Going all the way around the world, from America to Australia. Just about everywhere in between in this world and the next. And am I just ever so grateful to be here today to share this next 2 hours, to create a little moment that we're going to share together. Because over the past month, ladies and gents, I'm not going to play it down. There has been times when I have wondered whether we have done our last show. But no. Let's get rid of all those thoughts altogether. Let's double down and let's aim forward. Hopefully I'm over the worst of the health issues now. I'm going to get this out of the way quickly at the start of the show, and then we're going to move on. We're going to leave it because we have got a brilliant show lined up for you today. I want to thank everyone for their messages of support, prayers, energy that's been coming my way. It has been greatly appreciated. You know, it's also given me a chance to take stock, step back, do what I talk about all the time, disengage from the data stream and just observe and listen internally, listen to our own little voice. I tell you, we are living through some magical, mysterious, and weird times right now, folks. And if you haven't picked up on that yet, trust me, it won't take long. There'll be no mistake to be had very, very soon. We are entering a time of great, great change. It's been happening for some time now. It's accelerating. And I promise you, I will be here with my able-bodied team of researchers, guests, and whoever else we bring onto the show to guide us through this craziness. Because we're going to make it to the other side. We are. It's going to be tough. It's going to be dark at times, but we are going to make it. We've already won. Keep that in mind. We have already won. Now, coming up on Friday, we're going to be bringing on Evan and Stephen Strong to the show. They're going to be joining us in our number 2 of Freaky Friday to get us all warmed up for the global event that is just around the corner. December 21st, December 22nd, if you're in Australia, we'll be taking part in a massive global meditation event. You'll be able to watch it on my channel. You'll be able to watch it on Our Alien Ancestry. And this is the latest in a number of ceremonies that have to take place at this very time because of these changes that I'm talking to you about. So please check out Our Alien Ancestry.net for more details about that. We'll be talking more about that as the show progresses. But let's get into it because we're back. And a big shout out to Chris Geo, Chris and Cherie for their patience, for helping me and the family with a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people don't really appreciate, and for giving me the time to recover to come back today. So a big shout out to Chris and Cherie Geo for that. Because if it wasn't for Chris and Cherie Geo, there wouldn't be a Kev Baker show. If it wasn't for the Kev Baker show, we wouldn't get to hear from good friends of mine like, I don't know, first up, Jimmy Jeans, sitting there patiently over in FEMA Region 9, hanging by a dime. How you doing, dude? Listen, Jimmy, can I just thank you for being there for me to unload my worries and concerns on in the background while we've been in recovery mode here. I want to thank you for being there, dude.
Hey, man, there's no place else I'd rather be, man, is there for you and a friend whenever they need me. So, yeah, these are brazen times that we're in, and just, it just really makes you learn to appreciate the moment even more, like every moment to value it. Because, it's weird now. I used to see a brother, I give him 5. Now I see him, I say, man, you still alive? It's getting crazy out here, man. People are, I don't know if you guys remember the guy. I kind of want to mention it is, there was a guy, Kurt Wilson. He had a thing called, he was called the Armchair Survivalist. He was on the air for a really long time, man, every Sunday. For years, he was out there doing the good work, man, and helping people, sort through some of this stuff. And, he passed on recently, and there's been a lot of people in the alternative media that aren't here anymore. Yep. And I value every minute of our time together, brother, and our friendship, more than I could ever even put into words, man. And I there's no place I'd rather be than here hanging out with you on the Kev Baker show, And now I
actually know you genuinely mean that. And today, Jimmy, we've got one of our favorites in the hot seat.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
Without any further ado,
yeah.
Let me remind the audience who our special guest is today. Jimmy's always special. He's not a guest. He's part of the furniture here. But today it's the Ben X Files.
That's right.
Yes, indeed. Is Ben Emlyn Jones, the hospital porter against the New World Order. I was just saying to Ben before we went on air today, everything that we've talked about over the years, everything we've warned about, everything we've feared, we're living through it now. We should be embracing it and enjoying it. But Ben is somebody that covers everything from conspiracy theory to conspiracy fact. He does aliens, he does disclosure, he does paranormal, he does high strangeness, he does space, and he is somebody who has been here a whopping, you ready? 77 times on the Kev Baker show. 77 times. And of course,
Wow.
there are some out there that say I am still part of 77th Brigade. Our disinformation warriors over here in the UK, which makes me giggle somewhat. But Ben, welcome back to the show, buddy. And it was meant to be happening this time last night, but I had a monitor glitch. I had things going on behind the scenes. And I've learned over the years, Ben, but when the universe gives you a couple of prompts that something might not be happening, you got to listen and you just got to go with it. So I want to thank you for being really flexible and coming back with me today.
You're very welcome, Kev. It's great to be back on for a 77th occasion, and it's great to be on with you and Jimmy again. I've not been on a show with Jimmy now for like a couple of years.
I know, it's wild.
Obviously, I'm great to be back with you, Jimmy and Kev. It's great that you're on the mend. I shall pray and hope for your continued recovery, and keep that voice strong, mate. And
you know, you think about it, Ben. You lost one of your friends not long ago in the alternative media. We had Rob Stever here at TFR, who passed this year as well. Jimmy had mentioned the armchair survivalist there. There's been a lot of people in our community. Some we love, some we hate, some we disagree with, some we get on with. But our actual little community itself is almost like a microcosm of what's going on in the bigger world with so many changes, you know. It's not to be morbid or anything, but it's notable, right?
We do seem to be experiencing something of an exodus. There's 3 people I can think of we lost this year. Ian R. Crane, Gareth Davis, Shirley Bolstock, the medium, who I've worked with closely. Gareth in particular was a deeply valued personal friend, and losing him was an enormous blow. And as someone once put it, the team on the other side is getting bigger. It's like maybe it's almost like the elves leaving Middle Earth. They can sense the writing on the wall. It's the elves in Middle Earth. If you've read the books or watched the movies, they leave just before the big crisis, the War of the Ring, as if it's their time to go. It's time for the humans to run the Middle Earth. And it's almost like maybe that's the way we are now in this world. We're reaching a point where there's great change ahead, and certain individuals now have to get out of the way and move to other places to leave this universe to go its own course without them. And that's sad because I miss them. I sometimes look at the world around me and think, what would Ian R. Crane say about all this? Why, I could really do with his guidance right now, his wisdom, his analysis, his commentary, his research, and he's not here. Unless someone channels him, I can't really talk to him. So, but that's the way of the world, Kevin. Like I say, I don't want to sound morbid either, but it's simply a fact. That's what's going on at the moment.
We definitely carry on the torch for all of these people, that's for sure. Jimmy, big changes though, right? And again, you're like me and Ben. We're not wanting to make this all morbid or anything, but
no,
it ties in with the planetary changes, everything that's changing right now,
It is. I mean, this is a time of change. I mean, just, from a planting perspective, this is the time when all the plants, from last year's crop are gone. You've got the harvest in, the end of the year. It's dark, it's cold, There's all these intersecting points here. And just because we have so many people in alternative media, and a lot of the people, it's strange as it may seem, a lot of the people that have gone are ones that were speaking out about stuff, specific stuff, and then they fell prey or victim to the very things they were talking about. It's an interesting place to be. I mean, like I was telling you guys earlier before the show, if you would have told me the story of 2021 5 years ago, I would have called you a conspiracy theorist and never thought it would look like this, Because, obviously we've been talking about stuff happening for a long time. We've all, had this vision of what we thought it might look like. But I don't...
What brought us here in the first place, right?
Yeah, but I don't
led us to talk about it for 5 years, 10 years before it.
Yeah. So, the thing is that we've reached, it seems like we've reached the place that we were going, but it doesn't look like we thought it was going to. But still, all the things we talked about are still just as powerful and in effect. It just doesn't look the same. It's something. There's just this little piece of it that there is no blue helmets, or there's right now there's no New World Order, or stomping your face with the black boot for eternity or whatever it is. But I mean, it looks like we're on the precipice of it. And some of us are still here to carry that torch, Kev Baker Show. And you'll be able to, as long as you got juice in your battery, I know you'll be out here, continuing.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. In the trenches, Jimbo, with warriors like you and Ben, for sure. But Ben, what have you been getting into over the past month? And man, what's been front and center for you? And I seen something about moon bases. What's going on, man?
Oh yeah, well I've been doing what I usually do, Kev. I mean I've been pretty much on the same track now for years, and I see no reason to change.
You're prolific, brother. You're prolific. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I came across several interesting eventualities, which have been going on in the world. The world is, as Jimmy was saying, it's like everything's being proven true, and not in the way we thought. The world, we never know exactly what it's going to be like. We just know that it's going to happen in a certain way, and we made predictions that have come true. But the world, it never works out exactly as you expect. But I do feel like we are, in a sense, being vindicated on every level in all kinds of different subjects. Not just the obvious one you can't talk about on YouTube, but in all of them. And one of them, of course, is the space and UFOs and things like that. And there's a strange document came out. It was published by the Air Force Research Laboratory, the Space Vehicles Directorate. It sounds very Star Trek, but it is a real organization. It's called A Primer on Cislunar Space. Now, cislunar space means it basically refers to the space that is higher than so it's beyond, outside the orbits of where the satellites are. That is low Earth orbit, high Earth orbit, geosynchronous orbit, etc. But it's between that level and the moon. It's basically from that distance to the distance of the moon, and which is basically 238,000 miles. And this has been published. Now, this is something you'd think NASA would use. It's basically it's about navigating in space. It tells you basically a set of instructions about navigating in space. Yet it is aimed at it's what they call military space professionals, which would be like the Guardians. The Space Force people, they're called Guardians. It's sort of aimed at them, which means that this sort of fits in with something I saw the other day on Rich Planet TV. And if you haven't watched Rich Planet TV, you need to, because there's a lot of very good stuff on there. Where they had an interview. You may have seen the interview with Catherine Austin Fitz, the recent one she did. There's one part of it which I don't even remember her saying this, even though I watched the whole thing, because she was talking generally on other subjects. But she talks about the kind of space rush, because the question of this episode on Rich Planet TV was, who rules the world? Who really rules the world? And the answer seems to be at the moment, whoever controls space. There is a grab for territory in space, which is not unlike the 18th and 19th century on Earth, where various European powers were colonizing the entire world. So you had like the British Empire, the French Empire, the Dutch Empire moving into Africa, into the Far East, into the Spanish, especially were moving into the Americas in the last few centuries. This is very, very similar. There's different countries are competing now for control of the celestial realms. And this includes, we're not just talking satellites here. They're talking about cislunar space, which means they're setting their sights much, much further than they originally did. So it's an important question is, why has this document now been released, and what does the Space Force, not just of the United States, but other countries now have their own space forces. Other countries have very, very well developed space programs with a military purpose behind them. China seems to be very well ahead. So what are they planning to do in the next few years, Kevin? Well, what have they already done which they haven't told us about? Because that when I saw this document, I immediately thought about something I'd written about just a couple of weeks ago. A very, very strange video appeared on YouTube. Now, of course, all kinds of weird videos appear on YouTube, and some of them don't really make much sense. But this one was different. This one was Let's find my notes. Sorry. This one was on a channel that just appeared. It's just a completely blank channel. There was no banner on it, no avatar, no subscriptions, no favorites. It has a strange name. The name began with 2 Chinese sigils, which apparently are pronounced Qining. Now, I must apologize for Chinese listeners if I mispronounced that, because I know tone is very important in the Chinese language, but it's apparently pronounced something like Qining. It means mission, and it's followed by the word Langrenus, and then 2021-14. Langrenus is a crater on the moon. It's excuse me. It's quite close to the gap between the near side and the dark side, and there's no spacecraft we're told of has ever visited that location. The numbers after the word probably referred to the year 2021. I don't know what 14 means, but what happens is this is a live stream. Now, it's a very long live stream. It actually went on for an entire week. It's the only video on the channel originally, and now there's only a couple of clips left. It streamed continuously for a week, then it stopped. Now,
disappointed you. That's why you got away. And now I'm lost in Kansas. I lost my faith and I can't breathe. Babe, I'm crying, 'cause I'm lost without your help. Can't you hear me what I'm saying? And keep
There's a gray horse standing still as the soldier climbs in the saddle for one last ride. As the rain pours off his hat, you can see the shadows of the past written in his eyes.
stallion with not a mark upon his silky hide. Teach him he can trust me like a brother. One day we'll saddle up and ride. And we're gonna ride. We're gonna ride. Riding like a one-eyed jack of diamonds with the devil close behind. We're gonna ride. I'm gonna find me a reckless woman, razor blades and dice in her eyes, just a touch of sadness in her fingers, thunder and lightning in her thighs. And we're gonna ride. We're gonna ride. I'd play the Red River Valley, and he'd sit out in the kitchen and cry, and run his fingers through 70 years of living, and wonder, Lord, as ever will I drill run dry. We were friends, me and this old man, like desperados waiting for a train. Like desperados waiting for a train. He's a drifter and a thriller of the world, and an old
Scarecrow on a wooden cross, blackbird in the barn, 400 empty acres that used to be my farm. Grew up like my daddy did, my grandpa cleared this land. When I was 5, I walked the fence while grandpa held my hand. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. This land fed a nation, this land made me proud. But son, I'm just sorry there's no legacy for you now. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Rain on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. The crops we grew last summer weren't enough to pay the loan. Couldn't buy the seed to plant this spring, and the farmer's bank foreclosed. Called my old friend Shipman up to auction off the land. He said, John, it's just my job, and I hope you understand. They calling it your job, oh horse, sure don't make it right. But if you want me to, I'll say a prayer for your soul tonight. And grandma's on the front porch with a Bible in her hand. Sometimes I hear her singing, take me to the promised land. When you take away a man's dignity, he can't work his fields and cows. Blood on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Blood on the scarecrow, blood on the plow. Well, there's a black man with a black cat living on black neighborhood. He's got an interstate running through his front yard. You know, he thinks he's got it so good. And there's a woman in the kitchen cleaning up the evening slide. he looks at her and says, hey, darling, I can remember when you could stop a cloud. Oh, but ain't that America? For you and me, ain't that America? Something to see, baby, ain't that America? Home of the free, yeah. Little pink houses for you and me. Oh, yeah, you and me. Well, I was born in a small town, and I live in a small town.
White light cut a scar in the sky, the line of silver. Night was all cloudy with dreams. Wind made me shiver. Black and yellow pools of light outside my window. Lunar, come to me tonight. I am a prisoner. Lunar, glide down from the moon.
went down hard, like Billy the Kid. Yeah, I went down hard. Yeah, but I got up again, alright. Well, you caught me in my bedroom, cutting fever in a sweat. I was fighting for recovery, but I wasn't giving up yet. You offered no assistance. Yeah, you looked at me and you lied. Yeah, well, it really stung me. When you went to the other side, I went down hard, like
How does Apartments.com create the most...
Going across the field, the rain turned to snow. This old frozen heart is reaching out and looking for home. Somewhere out in the silent night, there's someone just like me, looking for love to warm their soul, set their spirit free when it gets too dark. When it gets this dark, let me love moves you away from a darker day. Let me love moves you like this cold. It's the only way. Let me love, oh, let it be alright. Let it be love. Help us through this darkest night. Driving along these icy streets, I turn on the radio. I hear the reporter telling the world what we already know. It's too hard. Life is too hard. Every love moves you away from. Shadow people, what's in their head? In the car next to you, when the light turns red, could be thinking of love, might be thinking of hate. I guess it pretty much could go either way. Shadow people in Shadowland, that one's thinking of great art and eloquent words. That one's strapped on a gun.
of my game. I should have known to keep an eye on you. Now I got a sky that ain't never the same.
Tell me, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? Where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled up on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I've crawled over 6 crooked highways. I've stepped out in the middle of 7 sad forties. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I tell you it's hard. It is hard. Well, it's hard. Oh, it's hard, yeah. It's a hard rain. It's gonna fall.
This is Stevie Winwood's song. Come down on your own and leave your body alone. Somebody has to change. You are the reason I've been waiting so long. Somebody holds a key. Well, near the end, and I just ain't got the time. And I'm wasted, and I can't find my way home. Come down off your throne and leave your money at home. Somebody has to change. You are the reason I've been waiting all these years. Somebody holds the key. Well, I'm near the end, and I just ain't got the time. I am an old woman named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. If dreams were thunder and lightning was desire, this old house would have burnt down at a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. just always ago. Just a free lemonade. But oh, that was such a long time, and no matter how I tried, those years they just flew by like a broken down vein. To make me an angel that flies from Montgomery, make me a poster for my old rodeo. Just giving me one thing, Lord, that I can hold on to believe in this living is just a hard ways to go. I can hear all the buzzing, but oh, I eat to nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to work in the morning, come home in the evening, they have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery, make me a poster from old rodeo. Just giving me one thing I can hold on to believe in this living is just a always a goal. When they come, they'll take you down. When they bring that wagon around, just one thing, darling, I ask of you. Just don't tell them that's enough me. Shake it, shake it, sugary.
When they come to take you down, when they bring that wagon round, when they come to call on you and drag your poor body down, just one thing I ask of you. Just one thing for me. Please forget you knew my name.
I'm gonna start calling Epic Journeyman the Imperial Coconut. The Imperial Coconut, Mr. Epic Journeyman. You're not there. Oh well. Jerry's there. He's always there. If you miss him, just push play.
Something, but it's not actually very interesting. It just shows views of the moon, which change occasionally. The camera hardly moves, and no other objects can be seen, although the Earth actually appears above the horizon in exactly the place it would be if you were in the Langrenus crater and you looked in a certain direction. You would see the Earth. The Earth, of course, would be static in the same place in the sky at all times. And it has a phase. The Earth has, when you're on the moon, the Earth appears to have phases in the same way the moon does to us on Earth, and the phases are the exact opposites as they are on the Earth. And indeed, the phase is correct, and the moon is in, and the sun and the Earth is in the correct part of the lunar sky. There's a very, very vague soundtrack. Sometimes you can hear voices, sometimes you can hear snatches of music even. Now,
Ben, I had no idea about any of this. Obviously, I've been out of the loop on a lot of stuff, but it's fascinating. And then it reminded me of something I did find yesterday or the day before when I was looking around. I think it's relevant to bring up here, add into the mix, because this comes from Live Science. It says China is investigating a mysterious hut on the far side of the moon. Now, there's an image there. I'll drop it over into TFR in just a moment. It says China's U-22 rover has spotted what Chinese researchers are calling a mysterious hut on the far side of the moon. The rover, whose name means Jade Rabbit in Mandarin, recorded a blurry image of the cubit-shaped object as the rover made its way across the moon's von Karmer crater. Looking to the north on October 29, the mission's 36th lunar day, the rover spotted the mysterious hut around 260 feet away. The Chinese National Space Administration outreach program, Our Space, posted on the Chinese social network Wixen on December the 3rd. I'm going to post that to the chat room at TFR, but there's another fascinating thing we can throw into the mix here, right?
I saw this news article actually quite recently, and I thought this is incredible because this is obviously it was published either they meant to publish it or it happened unintentionally. Maybe it was a mistake, but either way, you can quite clearly see a square object. That's what it looks like. It doesn't look like a lump of rock. It's square. It's a long way. It's clearly a long way away. It's near the horizon. You can't see it very clearly. You can't really get a range on it, or you don't know how big it is. But they estimate it's. I think they said it was 290 feet away. Now the rover is actually going to go over and investigate it, but the rover moves very slowly. They reckon it would take a couple of days. However, that's now about 2 weeks ago. So, did it actually get to the object? In which case, why don't we have a follow-up article explaining exactly what that thing is?
No.
Or when it got there, did they suddenly realize this is something we're not allowed to talk about, so don't say any more? Because if this is on the far side of the moon, or the dark side of the moon, it faces away from the Earth. What we're seeing is something that's completely invisible from the Earth's surface. It's interesting, actually, when you consider that this is one of the few places in the universe which is completely invisible from the Earth's surface for a reason other than sheer distance. So if you're an alien and you're visiting, it's the perfect place to you can put anything you want there. There's a couple of million miles of real estate where you could just do what you like and no one on the Earth can see you. And it's next door, in cosmic terms. The moon is our next door neighbor. So it's perfect. It's a perfect place to have an alien base. Or indeed, if the secret space program wants to do something in space, that's the perfect place to put their things. I mean, the Langrenus crater is actually visible from the Earth's surface. This doesn't mean you would necessarily see what you see in this video. Like, if there's a camera set up there, you wouldn't be able to see that from the Earth's surface. Yet, if there is a large amount of hardware on the moon, it's already there. In other words, the secret space program is far more advanced than what we now call the US Space Force. Then that's what you would expect to see. I can't prove this stuff's not fake. I can't prove that thing Jade Rabbit saw is not an odd-shaped rock. But you see, things can always be fake nowadays. That's the problem. But there are reasons to be suspicious. I mean, you get rolling live streams from the International Space Station and things like that, and this seems to be like a bit like that. Yet, no one's ever explained this. A lot of people are researching this. They can't find who put this particular YouTube channel up. They can't. It's now gone. It's sort of dormant. The live stream stopped, and there's no recording of it. They're just a couple of clips. However, some people did record certain things. Now, what's interesting is, this only gets really interesting in the last few minutes, because just before the live stream ends, you see the camera move for the first time in a major way, and you see what looks like a human hand in front of the lens. And then the camera moves around, it's wheeled about, you see the black sky, you see the sunlit ground, and the feed is cut and it never resumes. So that's the position we're at now. The channel is still up there on YouTube if you want to go and see it and watch the little clip that's there. Or just Google Langrenus 2021, and you'll find other people have recorded bits of it, and they put clips up. So that's very good. Thank you very much to all those people who sat through a whole week of this stuff and just staring at this lunar landscape. It's quite poor quality imagery. It's sort of on the level of early Apollo, I would say, because they may well have done us a great service. I don't know the answers to this, Kev. I don't know if there really is some kind of secret moon base up there. There are astronauts up there bouncing around. The government aren't telling us about. In which case, that means that the militarization of the moon and space in general is far more advanced than we're being told.
Sorry. That was my bad. Jimmy, what say you to all of this quickly before we go to the break, bro?
Well, my first thing is...
You're muted up, man.
Oh, sorry. Stand by here. My first thing is that exactly what Ben was just saying, is that the quality is not that good. And so, I think the Chinese got some pretty nice cameras over there. It's pretty small, pretty nice. They probably put them on the Jade Rabbit there. So
I think so. We'll discuss this further on the other side, folks. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Extraterrestrial, where you've already got a bunch of people who are like space citizens In Glasgow, we've got a couple of ambassadors for Asgardia here. Remember that politician, Opus Limbic? Is that his name? He's like one of their main politicians for this breakaway space civilization that's going on. Ben, what say you to all of it? Is this just what it looks like when you're entering Battlestar Galactica time and Star Wars realm?
Well, as far as the Asgardia things, I remember we talked about it on a previous show. And Lembit Opik, though, he's a strange chap because he seems to love reality TV. And
he went out with a cheeky girl. We've got to give him
he
that.
did, yeah. And I think I think they're married now. I think they're still together. And he's married. But I don't know an awful lot about that. But I don't think there's any connection between the Asgardia community and the Space Force. That's for Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars, and these involve like spacecraft that can travel interstellar and break the speed of light and things like that. Well, I wonder how far advanced the secret space program really is. Has it actually reached that level? Could we take?
Check this out. There's 1 million Asgardians.
Oh, that's a lot of people up in space. I mean, could we literally take ET home? I mean, that's a quote from Ben Rich of the Lockheed Martin.
You can even become a citizen, dude. You need to sign up. Yeah, I'm going to sign up later.
Make you Prime Minister, Kev. Kev for Prime Minister of Asgardia.
It's a strange, eccentric Russian man, if I remember correctly, that is the head of Asgardia. If I remember correctly. Usually see them coming on and they've got like elections for the head of the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Amendments to the Constitution. Founding Day documentary. They've got it all going on.
Yeah, no, you can. They're voting in representatives here on Earth right now.
The first space nation, a unique international community of forward-looking people, a digital state with its own transparent economy focused on scientific progress on Earth and in space.
It could be. I was going to say that there are several internet-based, eccentric communities like this. There's one called Liberland as well, which looks a little bit like Asgardia. Liberland is actually people, unlike the Asgardian people, they actually do believe they are claiming a part of the Earth's surface. They are claiming sovereignty over a part of the river, the banks of the River Danube in Slovenia, I believe, because they believe that the river course has changed and therefore has left some areas of land which are actually at the moment unclaimed. So they've claimed these lands and they've set it up and they've called it Liberland. And no one actually lives there because they tried to go there once and they were arrested by the police. But the Liberlandians claim they're a government in exile. And again, I don't think they've got a million of them, but they've got like a couple of 100,000 people.
Asgardia's population is limited to 150 million.
Is that all? Is that all?
Hurry, boys. We better hurry because they're already over 1 million now. So.
Yeah, seriously, better hurry because this is the thing about it, Ben, is that it's on a satellite. So it's off planet. So it literally is. So what they're doing, listen, they've actually gone to, they're trying to get status from the UN right now because what they want to do is they want to, this is the best part, is this is the hook too, is there's going to be some tax evasive maneuvers that may happen through this because once you become a citizen of Asgardia, right, then you get a passport. And now,
see, this is Jimmy, this is exactly what Nano Girl broke down when she came on. She was calling it like, now we've got the Caribbean tax havens and things like that. The next thing will be the digital space haven.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting now too is they have these really small satellites. They're like micro satellites. Literally, Ben, you could launch your own Ben Emlyn Jones micro satellite yourself.
Really?
Literally.
I mean, I suppose if you have like something that could fire it, like
around the world, dude, we could beat you around the world.
Yeah, man.
Well, you know, it's the cost of space launches has come down enormously, and there's private companies involved now, and it could be that even though it seems like basically a bit of a internet LARP right now, same with Liberland. if enough people get involved and they are determined enough, and then the Liberland thing, I was reading an article about Liberland. It's very well organised. I mean, like I said, there's a couple of 100,000 people involved. Liberland is only about 10 square miles, so they could never all go and live there anyway. But Asgardia doesn't claim any territory on Earth. But if enough people get involved and they're that organised, and the world is changing the way it does in terms of technology and the acceptance of technology and the definitions of what constitutes a nation state,
exactly,
then why shouldn't at some point there's going to be where that particular definition is going to refer to something in cyberspace as well as real space.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be that there will indeed one day be, maybe they will be able to build their space station. It'd have to be a big one if it's going to take 150 million.
Here we go. Here's the dude we were talking about. Let's see what he's got to say. Oh, yeah. Let's see.
See,
is he going to talk?
The other thing is too is you take.
It's been a difficult year professionally and personally for you and for me, but here we are 12 months later, and light years further on in terms of the Asgardian project. And that's all thanks to you, Dr. Asher Bailey. Thank you for the last 12 months. Happy birthday, and here's to the next 12. And I know that the best is yet to come. On behalf of Parliament and myself, happy birthday.
Chairman of the Asgardian Parliament, and they all pay homage to this dude over here. Let's see.
See, you take this concept, which is they give you a certain amount of hard drive space on the satellite. Okay, you take that, you combine it with Bitcoin, blockchain. Okay, you put your blockchain wallet up on your satellite. And then you integrate Estonia type of, because Estonia is a completely digital nation here on Earth, to where everything is done via the internet for the most part. So now you've stepped into that space, Ben, where when you put the VR helmet on, you don't need much space. You know what I mean? So you can exist. You could go sit in Parliament there in Asgardia.
Well, let's listen.
I can understand the attraction.
Yeah, let's listen to the cult leader. See what he's got to say.
Okay.
He is a cult leader. Okay, we're not going to listen to that one. I need to find him in English. Where are you in English, dude?
I can't read the subtitles. It's Russian, isn't it? I can't read the subtitles.
I wonder.
Yeah.
I'm learning Russian at the moment, but I'm not that good.
Are you? It's always good to learn Russian.
Yeah.
Did you see those ghosts?
Дорогие асгардианцы.
No, it's not. Dear Asgardians.
I can understand the attraction, actually, of this. I really can. I mean, for somebody, if you like, because we're living in a world where people are increasingly atomized and without identity. There was a time when people, like my grandmother's generation, she used to talk to me about this. She was born in 1911. She knew who she was. She knew who her friends were. She knew the names of everyone on a street. And everyone was in that position where they had a community and an identity. Now, I mean, I don't know the names of the people who live. I know the name of one person in the flat above me, and I don't know the name of anyone else on my street. I wave to them, I say hello. I don't interact with them at all. When I was a porter at my hospital, I had a community. I had friends, and there was that bond, that camaraderie you get in that situation. But in this day and age, work is increasingly atomized too. There's more and more casualization. There's more and more agency work and things like that. So for people in that situation who didn't have what I had, they would say, well, who am I then? Who do I belong to? And then these people comes up and there's this thing called Asgardia. You find it online and you can join it and you can make friends and you can vote in a parliament and you could essentially become something with which you belong to, and other people are a part of it too, and you can have meetings and you can wave that little flag, the flag, and maybe look forward to the day when you can all meet each other on a space station. I bet you they have like conferences in real life and they get together and they have Asgardia clubs in towns and cities.
Do you think
I do that? I do that too. That's what Dreaming Saucers is. This thing here. It's my little local group, which I know a few people in my local area. But so I understand exactly why people would want to be involved in this. I really do.
I want to be involved in it. I mean, I would do it just for the novelty of it. But I can see, because Masonic lodges are sovereign territory around the world. So like when a Mason is in a Masonic lodge, that is that's not part of the United States that they're in. That is their sovereign territory, and that's what I'm saying is that the concept of a sovereign territory that exists outside of the laws and sphere of our civilization, that comes down from there and now becomes a visitor with a passport, because that's what they're trying to do. They've literally gone before. Right now the UN is deciding whether or not. I think it's going to be a monumental decision just for.
Look at this. We're better to house a court of the blockchain.
Mm-hmm. There you go. See, because at the point that we are encapsulated by ones and zeros, our existence is just transmuted from the reality that we live in, and all those pictures and all the data that exists of us. There is no physicality to that. That is ones and zeros existing in the etheric. So you can your whole life can be encapsulated in a few gigabytes of information or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
here's this cat. Look at him. Here's the guy, like the cult leader, as I call him, meeting members of the parliament and the residents of Asgardia living in Israel.
Oh,
yeah.
But I mean, it's like
crazy cool.
I could really like what Jimmy said is absolutely correct, and considering that our existing civilization doesn't really give us any of these things anymore. It does. It's stripped us of our identity, our sense of belonging completely. So that's going to create a vacuum, and other things will fill it. Now, you call this guy a cult leader. I mean, I don't know does this qualify as a cult? I don't know enough about it. I mean, do they send him lots of money and things like that?
Well, there's absolutely a monetary grift going on there as well.
He means the believers in whatever it is he's doing. I mean, cults aren't signified by evil results. It just means, like, for example, if us three got together and we go, oh man, when we get together and talk, we understand each other, but when we talk to other people, they don't know what the heck we're talking about. So, and we just, from a cult perspective, it may be, there could be elements, but that's always what happens when something good comes around. Like if you say, "Hey man, I decided I bought this island and I'm gonna have all you come on over. We'll build a society." The first thing out of someone's mouth is Jim Jones, man, Jim Jones or whatever. It's like it's the immediate dismissal because of the potential negativity. But I mean, think of from an imaginative standpoint. Let's say you've mastered the ability to fly within the Earth's atmosphere using magnetic type propulsion units, and you understand how to offset the powers of the Earth, the magnetic fields. At that point, you would be able to build floating cities. Right?
Supposing, yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, just supposing that the stuff to do with the secret space program somehow entered the public domain. That knowledge somehow entered the public domain. And Kev and I have discussed many times over the years exactly what that process will be like and whether it's possible and things like this. It could be that Asgardia could then have what it wanted. It could build its space station, even one big enough for 150 million people, and it could do so comparatively easily compared to the using technology that is publicly available at the present. In which case, maybe they'll be glad they got on board. I mean, the word cult, I suppose, has a negative connotation. But people accuse people like us of being cultists, as you were saying, Jimmy. If you define it simply as, well, I can talk to you. I spent the evening having conversations with you guys that I could never have with anyone else. I have to keep my mouth shut in my everyday life simply because I can't bang my head against the brick wall and keep getting laughed at all the time. I can't.
We've all been kind of driven into our own individual cults, albeit digital groups. And again, like Jimmy says, a cult doesn't need to be a bad thing. when you got a group. Maybe I use the word a bit loosely.
Well,
but,
we
when
associate
it
it.
comes to Asgardia, they strike me as being the first digital off-world cult. It is weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that the one missing element, I would say, is a religious aspect to it. But you would think that people that were moving into a technological future would for the most part, a lot of times what happens when people start looking into a lot of this and they get into the technology, they start to lose faith and they start to get more into an atheistic mindset. So I don't think there's a religious aspect to what's going on there, but I do think, I think it's a viable idea in a sense that if you look at a lot of the futurists right now, there's a few people that are very much into building floating cities on the ocean. Outside of the 17-mile limit so that they would be able to create their own floating country. And these futurists put forward the idea, Ben, that, hey, I got 165 choices in countries. I've got more choices in the sodas that I want to drink. Why not just have governments and on floating cities and you can just go live in the country that suits you best, I mean...
Believe it or not, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, believe it or not, that's already happened. There are a number of people who've got together and basically moved on board a ship. They bought like a ship and they are living on board this ship outside the territorial waters of any nation, and they've declared themselves states. There's one actually. It's actually not a ship. It's an ocean platform which was set up in World War II. I think there were guns on it originally, and they have literally moved. A group of people moved in there, and they've declared themselves an independent state. What's it called? It's somewhere in the Thames estuary. I can't remember what it's called now. Somewhere off the coast of Essex, I think. But they've issued stamps. They've set up a government, just like Asgardia.
Wow.
They've issued stamps. No one's going to kick them off because no one really wants this platform. So they've just taken it over, and it's rusty, it's old, and they've sort of done it up. They've maintained it, and they've issued stamps. They have like a national anthem, and they've given it a name, and they have like
That's what we need, man. That's what we need, boys. That's what we need.
Well, why not? I mean, Jim Jones is a man who basically did manipulate people who were vulnerable to create a kind of worship of himself. It's interesting what you mentioned, the point you made about religion, Jimmy, because there are many systems of society which are atheistic, yet exhibit this, if not the actual form, but they mimic religion in many ways. I mean, in several, for example, in several atheist socialist states, like Marxist states, like North Korea. What's funny is it's based on Marxism, Leninism, and it completely rejects religion, yet they have a religion essentially of the leader.
$5 through Super Chat.
They have a religion of the leader. The leader is essentially like a god to them, and they sing songs about him, which are like hymns. His images are regarded as holy. You can't stand in front of a picture of the leader, things like that. And Ayn Rand, an American philosopher, she was accused of running a cult as well. Now, she just wrote some books and things like that, and people liked them when they got involved with her philosophy. And she had this thing called the collective, which was like an inner core of individuals, which had like rituals. It had rituals. It had certain words and phrases and almost a language of its own. But she was a complete atheist. She was actually a kind of anarchist, libertarian anarchist. It was a political philosophy completely, which rejected religion. And Jim Jones, weird thing about Jim Jones, he also claimed to be an atheist, but people worshipped him as a god, which is why when he told them to kill themselves, they killed themselves.
Well, I mean, it's that's the thing is that because society is engineered in such a way to associate a word with a meme, like Jim Jones. So thing is Jim Jones is mimetic warfare at its finest, because all I have to do to you is say Jim Jones, and then when I say it, everything about it is going to come up for you. It's in your hard drive. You pull it up in that moment. But until then, you're not thinking about it. And so it's been implanted in you to, when I say cult, you think Jim Jones type thing. And so that's our automatic go-to.
I'm sure there's no Asgardian Kool-Aid on the go.
No.
I hope there's no Asgardian Kool-Aid, Jimmy.
I think they look pretty harmless, actually, these people. They look pretty harmless.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is the technology that the futurists are talking about to float on the ocean with, it's the same technology that they're going to use to float around in the atmosphere. It's the same technology that they'd be using to build bases up on the moon. You know, and it's like earlier when you guys were pointing at that potential hut or structure, immediately what I think of is when I'm going to have an underground facility, there's one place where I got to go in. Yeah. And I usually build a little, hut right there, and that's all you see is that hut. And when people look at it, they go, it's nothing. It's just a little hut there. There's nothing there, but really underneath there's 150,000 square foot,
Exactly, a deep underground military base. Yes. Now, on our last show, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but Uri Geller came into the conversation, right? He's back in the news again, and he is saying aliens are preparing to make contact with us. Now, listen, I want to get you guys' take on this because the past few years have been really, really weird and wacky right now. And I've speculated that it's a future event that is so spectacular that it's sending ripples into the past and we're living through them right now. Could that be alien contact? I don't know. But I've been looking at a lot of information, some of it channeled. And I know you've got to be very skeptical when it's coming from any channeled source. But things seem to be lining up with an outside threat, maybe something alien coming in. That's my own spidey-widey senses. What say you, though, Ben? Is Uri Geller, is he onto something here?
I've not actually read this article, but I mean, what he says in the headline here, and I may misunderstand it because I've not read the article. Of course, aliens have already made contact with us. They've been contacting us since we've been around. Yet, if he means are they going to have some kind of landing on the White House lawn?
What's funny you should say that, because that actually comes in here. It says the Israeli spoonbender has claimed that we should expect to hear from E.T. before too long. Geller, whose self-proclaimed psychic feats of spoon-bending tricks have been made a household, or given him a household name, is certainly no stranger to making out their claims. Most recently, in an interview with the Sun newspaper, he indicated that alien visitors have not only been watching us for years, but they're preparing to make contact. I think they are studying us. I don't know what they really want, he said. I think they are preparing us for contact for the Steven Spielberg Close Encounters of the First Kind or Third Kind scenario of landing. And it's going to be spectacular. They will probably land on the White House lawn or somewhere. I don't know. All of our science fiction films about alien encounters will come through. So there you go.
Well, when it comes to science fiction films coming true, I hope it's not sort of like Alien. I hope it's more like E.T. or Close Encounters. Yeah, but the thing is, it's interesting you saying, I never really thought about this before, what you just said, that something can, in the same way that people can have premonitions of the future, something happens which sends shockwaves in the quantum universe, which maybe our quantum brains can pick up. I think
it's the singularity. If I had to, if you had to nail me down on something, I think the singularity is around the corner and it's sending.
If that was the case, if that were true, it would explain an awful lot. It would explain the rather insane behaviour of our current governments.
Yep.
They really seem to have lost their minds. I mean, they're doing. It's almost as if it's like an ant's nest when you put smoke on it.
It looks as if they've lost their minds. Only not if they know something we don't.
Well, this is another possibility. Maybe they've got advance warning of this.
Exactly.
Maybe for whatever reason they feel they've got to get us all onto social credit systems within the next 6 months or something, or else oh, you know, something terrible from their point of view is going to happen. That could be why they're doing it. They're rushing all these reforms in as soon as they can. Well, normally they were just taking their time. You know, this new world order, man. Don't worry, we'll get it done. But we can't do too quickly. All those people working out what we're doing. You know, so let's just do it slowly. You know, that's all changed, doesn't it?
Number 2. Perfect end to the segment there. Gonna show on some tunes, boys.
Hey, I sent you a video in this chat.
I'll check it when we're on the break.
You guys,
here, Jim,
and
right?
you check it too, Ben.
Will do, mate. I've just clicked it.
It's some Russian Orthodox service going on in a church, and some people are standing outside, and you can see what looks to be ghosts or angels flying in there, man. It's crazy.
Oh, right.
We'll check
I
it
think
out.
this was on. I think I might have seen this. It's on. Oh,
It's wild, man. I mean, I don't usually pay attention to this stuff, but it really looks interesting.
There's a really good YouTube channel called The Darkest Secret, and it's run by this Mexican lady, and she brings together a really, really amazing paranormal phenomena, like and into these really great videos: UFOs, ghosts, angels. This is blimey.
Check it out.
Ads.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And you know what? It's interesting because I have this really internal feeling that Russian Orthodox Christianity is very, very powerful in this world. It has nothing to do with anything outside of itself. I think it's an entity unto itself.
I think it is because that's always been the case ever since the Great Schism, which created the Byzantine Empire. Oh my God! Yeah.
You see it?
Yes.
Man,
yes, I see it.
It's wild, huh?
That's
Hopefully
extraordinary.
Kev can
that's
see it.
Extraordinary.
All right, so we're on a break or whatever for a couple minutes, so I'm going to go grab some coffee.
Kev, have a look at this, mate. Have a look at this.
Yeah, I'm seeing it, man.
Yeah. The Russian Orthodox Church is like always. I think it's like the most powerful church, really.
Me too.
Because the people really believe it. I mean, they have like huge street parades and things like that and services.
Well,
but
that's why
people turn up.
And
they were why you got the head of the Russian Orthodox Church going down to the South Pole.
Exactly.
Not the Pope, you know.
Patriarch Kirill, yeah. What the hell was that all about?
Okay, guys, we'll be back in a moment. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Here we go. Fascinating. That's a good one, Jim.
I gotta do what's best for me.
And a big thank you to everyone for tuning in today. Hit like, hit share, click subscribe if you're new around here. We're going to be getting back to full woo ahead in just a moment. We're picking up on the event just before it happened. Look how significant that event was, but people only picked up on it, say, moments before. So you take a 9/11 type event and multiply that by 1,000, by 10,000, and how early do you start to see the symptoms of that event on the horizon? I think that's what we're going through right now. I think these changes are nothing new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. And I think a lot of people know a lot more about the times that we're living through right now than they let on. And there's signs and there's indicators as to just where we are. And I think that some of those signs and indicators, we could check them off the list. And it shows us just where we are in this wheel of time. A moment of great change. Huge change. How it looks, I don't know, but it's just around the corner. Ben Emlyn Jones is with me. Jimmy Jeans is with me. We're buckled in. And as Bill Hicks says, remember, it's just a ride, folks. It's just a ride. So, guys, where do we go from here? Who wants to pick up the chalice of woo, the singularity that awaits? What's going on, Ben Emlyn Jones?
Oh, that's a hot chalice to pick up, isn't it? But it's an interesting thought, which I hadn't really contemplated before. But even though according to the classic physics, actual physical time travel backwards is not possible. You go forwards using Einstein's special relativity. Indeed, it has been done. You just have to go very, very fast in a particular direction, and you go forward in time. Going backwards in time is thought to be impossible. Yet, a recent experiment in Australia indicated that they tried to they recarried out the double slit experiment of quantum reaction. And they've discovered not only does the observer effect actually affect the particles and waves, but they found out that if you alternate the observer effect and are there without it, the particles seem to know in advance what's going to happen, as if the information, if not the physicality, but at least the information is in some way going backwards in time. So in the quantum universe, which is, of course, operates by different physical laws to the macro universe, the visible universe, time travel backwards is possible for information at least. Now, that would be interesting considering that, as we discussed many times, Kev, we have like your quantum computers now, and people like Sir Roger Penrose is claiming that our brains operate like quantum computers with our microtubules. Stuart Hameroff has been working on that as well. So the thing about 9/11 was fascinating because I heard about the random number generator moving, and the random number generator has already been found to be affected by people's thoughts, which means you can actually think a certain thought and the random number generator will respond as if it can read your mind. So was it responding to some people feeling premonitions, even if it was just a sense of unease that something bad was going to happen that day? In which case, something, obviously, if that's what we're going through right now, clearly there is something that's going to happen. Hopefully it's something good, not bad. I don't know. I can't wait to find out. If it's something good, I bloody hope it happens soon. But as I said before the break, it would explain so much about this collective epileptic fit that our government are going through right now. What was once a leisurely stroll towards the New World Order has turned into a desperate sprint. And it's not working out well for them, actually, because I know there's a lot of people.
We're all doomed.
What the hell's going on?
We're all doomed because as all this is going on, there's great earth changes taking place as well, Jimbo. You guys have been visited by severe tornadoes over there in the US recently. We'll be doing a show about that with Scotty Lopez.
Yeah, man.
And even before the show, we were talking about magnetic shifts and things like that as well,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a direct correlation to what's going on with the magnetic field and the changing face of our climate system. That's been a certain way for a period of time, gotten used to it. But I mean, the only thing that is for sure is change. So we're seeing a magnetic weakening. We're seeing the moving of the magnetic north. Suspicious observers has been on fire all week about some data that's come out in regards to how much things are moving and what exactly is the time frame, because they were talking about a percentage per 100 years, but as it turns out, that percentage is not per 100 years, it's per decade. And because of that, the way it's divided out, it puts us at a place where this tipping point scenario is not too far away, as far as when it moves far enough to this certain point, then you have this cascading event that happens with a shifting of the poles, and which is an interesting idea, just simply because you have so many references. Like, for example, when the sixth seal is opened up in the Bible, and it says the stars fall from the heavens, and everybody's hiding in their holes.
And can I add to that, Jimmy, as well? We're being careful for YouTube algorithms and things, but part of these end-time prophecies is something appearing with a crown upon her head, a crown, a corona. It's just saying. But back to the magnetic stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah. So
how does that affect the human mind? Because we're electromagnetic beings.
Well,
what happens when the shield goes down? How does that look? It says that men will lose their minds.
Yeah. Well,
people will forget everything in an instant. What is this? What we're approaching?
There's a Islamic prophecy that talks about a day that seems like a week. And I mean, when you think about the concept of this magnetic anomalies happening, and if we have iron in our bodies and iron in our systems, and we're operating off of just like everything else in our society, we're operating off a certain principle. and that when that principle gets uprooted or changed, that maybe these ley line societies that used to exist when the magnetic field goes back to where it was from the shift before, that these all of a sudden these circuits across the motherboard called Earth will reignite. So Stonehenge and all these different places all of a sudden become places of power again. This type of thing. I think you can see that this kind of idea has been explained, but maybe not related to the magnetic aspect of it. But what do you guys think? I mean, is this, say, nobody really knows, but let's say the magnetic field shifts. Is that a time when the Earth could stand still? So if you're on a certain side of the Earth, it'll be dark for 3 days and 3 nights?
I don't know about a day lasting as long as a week. At the moment, we have weeks that seem to last as long as days.
Yeah.
But that's the notional time speeding up. But there's absolutely no doubt that the Earth's magnetic field has weakened, and the north and the poles are shifting. This does happen about, I think it's on average 3 times every million years, and it seems like this happens to be one of those moments we're in right now. We've just come out of a very deep, very long solar minimum. The sun's activity has dropped to a level we haven't seen, I think, for 400 years or something like that. We've had massive cosmic ray bombardments. Pardon me. We've also had. I generally feel that you mentioned Stonehenge and things like that. I generally find that many more people are taking an interest in these things than they used to. Maria Wheatley, who's a researcher into this sort of thing, she's been she does tours and things like that. She's like a courier, and I know more and more people are getting involved in things like what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's why I'm really excited about what's coming up on the 21st and 22nd with the guys from Down Under.
Yeah.
Stephen and Evan Strong, the poster here.
I know you've got the flag there. You've got the flag there, Kev.
Yeah, we're going to be taking part in a ceremony. It's 10:30 a.m. New York, 3:30 p.m. in the afternoon over here in the UK. A nice sociable hour for us lot. But we're going to be doing the latest in a series of ceremonies, and we'll be live streaming that. And the last time that these guys got together to do a ceremony at Uluru, we talk about the energetics, Jimmy. Mm-hmm. There's a video there, and it just shows this massive flash taking place, and it coincided with a real peak, a spike on the Schumann resonance as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this ancient knowledge, it's still there. We still have some contact with. I think we really need to be paying more attention to that to get us through these changes that are coming up, And I think, when you talk about the power of intent, the power of prayer, I think when you added up the global meditation community that took part in the last one, you're talking about millions of people. And it'll be millions of people again this winter, summer solstice, depending if you're in the north or the southern hemisphere. And I think these ceremonies, these rituals, they're almost imperative for the times that we live in. Some people might see them as being a bit new agey, a bit out there. I truly do think that's the reconnection with the past, because there's nothing new under the sun. We've gone through this before. But I think when the magnetic shields go down, it's like wiping the hard drives.
Mm-hmm.
Only a remnant, only a little bit of knowledge is retained for the next cycle. And you've got to really pay attention to the information to find out what really is that true signal, separating that from the noise. And I think it's this combination of getting back in touch with our ancient past, Ben, with the monuments. Like you say, people are showing more interest in this. Jimmy, you're looking into one of my favourite researchers. Is it Praveen Mohan?
Yeah, Praveen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's any accident, any coincidence that more and more people are looking to the past at a time now where we need that stuff to get us to the future, if that makes sense.
We do, and I'll guarantee you that. Listen, learning how to master and use the forces of Earth to be able to oppose the Earth force and float around in midair. That's the kind of technology that was going on in India. I mean, and with the Hindu religion and you know, back in time with the Brahmanas and all that. And you can clearly see the way this guy decodes these temples, because he's looking at detail, and what he brings to the table is this extensive knowledge of his own religion and the stories, myths, and mythos that go along with the depictions on some of these different, you know, I mean, for example, there was a anti-gravity tower that he was looking at. You know, I think he said the temple was 1,700 years old. This thing is 40 feet tall. It sits on a square. And it goes up 40 feet, and it's not connected to anything. You can literally, there's one aspect of the base of this thing that you could literally run a T-shirt or a piece of paper underneath it. It's not connected to anything, and it's been standing there for that many years. And that whole temple and all the carvings around the temple depict specifically that these people had a direct knowledge of gravity. There's a depiction of a goddess Moshi, and she's dancing on the temple, and she has one hand behind her neck, and her fingers coming down over her forehead, and there's a drip of water coming off. They cut down one of these and brought him down to the ground, and Gandhi and the then premier of India came to watch a demonstration, which was they took water and they dripped it on this Moshi goddess's head. It dripped down her finger, it touched the tip of her nose, it hit her nipple on the way down, and then it went all the way down and hit her toe. And it was an exactly perfect straight line the way that gravity fell. And this is way before there was anybody named Newton. So technology and the use of these
Look to the stars tonight to find all that I need. Still there's no sign of the answer that I see. Gaze through the window of all the faces unknown. Cold, dark, and empty eyes, and so far to go. I found the world inside my head no longer tells its lonely emptiness within me that burns.
Epic Journey. Are you that?
I am here.
Excelente. Well, the reason I couldn't get your call, watch out for that orange board. The reason I couldn't get your call is because I hadn't had set up Skype to accept my microphone and my settings, so I had to go in there, and that's why I wouldn't take a call.
Well, I had to do I had to go all kinds of hoops too to get there. Windows, take it, dog, dang it, get your whatever together, man. I mean, dude, it's ridiculous.
F Windows.
But I will say, like going out today for Thanksgiving. I went to we have a local haunt here people go to, and on the way there, I'm going along the coast, and it's all these tourists out in the waves, and for people who don't know anything about the ocean, and describe what the ocean looks like, and the people who do will know exactly what I'm talking about. So you look out at the ocean, and all you see is like this foam inshore, like this foam, right? Like for 100 yards, it's just foam, right? And then for everything out there is all these breakers, like, stories tall, right? Mm-hmm. And there's people going into the ocean because it's their vacation, right? They're here in Hawaii. They want to enjoy the vacation. The water's warm. It's all great. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, who we got?
It's Bruce. Hang on.
Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I don't know. We'll see if he comes on. There he is. It's Bruce McDonald from the Talamega Mountains.
Hey, Bruce. Well, welcome aboard. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm telling a story about the ocean here in Hawaii.
So go ahead. Done, so you're still you haven't boned out to San Diego yet?
Not yet. Right, I'm going next Monday.
So there's waves. There's big waves coming.
San Diego.
So
what's in San Diego?
Not just waves. When my storage is in San Diego, I have to get rid of it and save myself $228 a month or whatever. It keeps going up every month, right? And it's not doing anything. I spent $10,000 on some storage.
You go to your storage for Thanksgiving?
There's $200 worth of shit.
No. Next week. There's probably $1,000. Well, it's probably a couple $1,000 of
that's
stuff
the
there.
thing.
But the bottom line is
that's the beauty. See, that is the beauty of the storage unit. It is just like the gym membership. You show up the one time, you pay for it, and you never go back, and you pay for it for years and years and years. And man, the shit that's in there is fucking junk compared to the amount of money you've spent housing it. You know what I mean? I mean, what could possibly be in there that could be worth? How much does it cost to lease a month? $100? $200?
Yeah, I have some things in there that are valuable. I mean, I have a Korg wave station synthesizer, and I have family heirlooms and kind of things.
I'm not saying
other than that.
But I'm just saying overall, like for the most part, most people, like the shit that's in there, how much could it possibly be worth? Could it be possibly worth $10,000 that you sat there and paid
not at
like
all.
$10,000
not at all.
on it?
Yeah. For me personally, like we'll take this analogy and take it to the next step. Let me finish the wave thing.
Yeah. Go back to the waves.
So the wave thing is that these tourists are here because the water's warm, right? And they want to get away from their place back on New Jersey or wherever they are, right? And they come here. They want to get in the water, but the water's like all foam because there's this big storm coming in, and you have these breakers that are like huge, just as far as you can see. Like it's not the normal really big waves you might see, where they're 30 feet tall in the face. They're like 20 feet, well, not even that tall, maybe 15 feet tall in the face. But they go out for a mile.
But it's deceptive.
In sets, right? Coming in.
Is it deceptive?
And people are going out in the water. It's like, what are you doing? That's like the worst possible thing you can do.
But is it like deceptive how big they are because the foam is there and it's not all glassy and you can't see this giant ass wave coming in?
Right.
It's like a big bunch.
Exactly. So those waves are bigger than they really look. Exactly. And so what it is it goes out for as far as you can see. Right. Like it's like one of those things like you see those paintings back in the day in New England bars, the guy in the fisherman outfit with the Morton Salt outfit with the yellow rain gear, right? And he's in his rowboat going to the lighthouse, with the big waves about to kill him. That's what it looks like. And people are out in the water, but it's warm. So I guess I got that.
Were there any deaths? So I guess
no. It's well, not so far.
I guess people made it so far, so good. People have escaped
but
death.
it's just, yeah,
No, dude,
it bothers me to watch though, because it's like I'm watching it going.
No, man.
You know what you're doing. No, they don't. Obviously, they have no idea, right?
No, man. I had a surfing experience when I was like 15 years old down in Mexico, and we were just kids, man. We just looking out there. We're like, all right, so the waves were breaking way out, so like from where you're standing, the waves look small. You know what I mean? They don't look that big. Looks like, hey, there's 5-6 footers or whatever. But when we got out there, man, they weren't 5 or 6 footers. They were fucking huge, man. And I mean, I barely, I was trying to get over the top of this wave, and right as I was going over the lip like this, I got sucked over the falls backwards, man. And I got jammed down in there, and I was like, I had no idea which way was up. If I was wearing a leash, and if I wasn't, I'd be dead, man. That's the only way I knew which way was up, is I pulled on my leash and I could tell where my board was up, because it was floating. And then I got on top of my board, and I took a breath, and I looked back, and the next wave went boom, and just fucking. I mean, I still sometimes like have. It's not a nightmare, but I have dreams about that. You know what I mean? And I wake up and I'm like, and I have that feeling in my gut of like that spinning feeling of being under and just being spun, man, like nothing, like a piece of kelp. Seriously, man. So,
nobody's ever had that happen to them. I don't think we'll ever relate to it. The people who have absolutely will. Like I've had it too. When you've been caught in the wave and you're just getting spun and pounded like that, like being in a washing cycle of a washing machine or a dryer, but it's all wet. I mean, how and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do. You're just like you're spinning and you're occasionally hitting the bottom and stuff. It's horrific, man.
That's what makes
people never express
Mavericks over here where I live. I mean, where you live, it's like pipeline and all that. It's a bunch of coral, right? So it's like shallow, and the waves are formed, but it's this place where you can get completely shredded to pieces, man. It's the same way up here with Mavericks. These waves they surf over here. It's like, but the thing is it's it's rocks. It's a rock. It's rock bottom, man. People just get stuffed into these rocks. When they fly off those boards. But that dude, man, what's his name? Lard. That guy. You know what I'm talking about? The big wave surfer from Hawaii. The big white dude with the blonde hair. Lard. Laird. He invented that hydrofoil board. Where it's just that blade. You're not actually even touching the wave. You're not actually touching the wave. You know what I mean? You're hovering over the wave, and then there's like there's a blade that has like airplane wings on it. So he gets towed into the wave. It's a wave that you could never physically paddle your way into. Your arms could never get you into that wave. The only way to get in is to get towed in. So he gets towed in. And then once on the wave, the board comes off the water and it gets onto the hydrofoil where he's not actually even standing on the water anymore. Now he's up out of the air on a blade, and he's just so it's totally smooth. And so that's how they developed those things that they have now, where you can just the thing you were talking about for 10 grand.
Oh, they're freaking awesome. They're freaking awesome.
That's what I mean. That came from that dude's idea with the hydrofoil.
Well, I have a connection, and I'm not a surfer really, with Kelly Slater, the same way that Kelly Slater has this property on the Big Island. Mm-hmm. When I first went to the Big Island to scout my properties, I told the story a little bit before. I was going I drove the entire coast of the island, and went to Interior too. I drove like every road there is, right, looking for a spot. Just looking for a spot, right, where I wanted to go. And so as I'm driving around, I find on Hamaku Coast, I think I'm saying that right. You go you drive along the sides. You leave civilization basically. You're just driving along. There's all these coves and inlets along the way, and so I get there, and there's this one spot, and there's this little tiny red house. This little tiny red house down in this cove, and there's a for sale sign as you get there. So this house is for sale. And it's tiny. It's got a picnic table, and it's got this little red house. It can't be more than 500 square feet. It's tiny.
Did Jimmy?
Right?
Did Jimmy?
500 square feet.
Did they write a song about that place, man? Wasn't there a song? It was a red house
No,
yonder?
I don't think they did, but they should.
There's a red house over yonder. Go ahead.
As I look at it, right, I'm like, dude, I got to get this place. I mean, how can I not? And I get out and walk a little bit around the road, the highway that kind of winds around on the high end to look down upon it. And as you look across this bay, it's got its own private bay, where the inlet is. Obviously, it's terrible for tsunami, but and across from the bay on the south side of it, it's got this waterfall that comes into the water. Like so it's mystical, dude. You got this waterfall that falls into the water on one side of the ocean on this crescent-shaped cove on the north shore, looking down upon it. This little tiny red house, with a picnic table.
Get out,
and I got to get this right. And I find out later it's Kelly Slater's place. It's Kelly Slater's place. He wants $1.5 million for it. So obviously I didn't buy that one.
He's a Santa Cruz.
Cool.
I'm pretty sure Kelly Slater's a Santa Cruz boy, if I'm not mistaken.
He owns that property though, he did. I don't know if it ever got sold. So yeah. So that was a problem. I wanted to call it. My real name's Don, right? It's not a picture name. It's Don, and I'm like, I was gonna call it Don's Cove, but
dude,
didn't happen.
You should have got it. I mean, how much can it cost? Isn't today just
$1.5 million?
Yeah, well, it's $1.5 million, but I mean, what does that translate into a loan, into like a month?
Today, yeah, it's nothing now, is it really? Like,
well,
$2 million.
I'm just saying. Do you know, like, people make livings off of renting their shit out for like 3/4 of the year? They pay for their houses by renting it out. Bruce McDonald keeps trying to join us. I don't know what keeps happening. Bruce.
Yeah, man, I'm having a weird time with Skype here.
Well,
it's the Apple phone, man. Like, they don't work well together.
Go ahead.
Hey, here's a song.
Go ahead and talk.
Hey, here's the song right here for your place, dude. Gary Moore.
There's a red house over yonder, yeah, and it's where my baby stays. There's a red house over yonder, and it's where my baby stays.
God damn.
Okay, wait a minute. I have to point out something that Jimmy will know, Bruce might not know. Jimmy probably doesn't know right now, but he'll know as soon as I say it. That Skype scene where you're both in the steps looking out, overlooking this place.
Yeah.
You know where that is? That's Mount Helix. That's Mount Helix.
Is it? Is that still going on in the Skype?
Yeah.
Are me and Bruce sitting in together mode on the steps of a?
No. You're not in the steps anymore. The steps is Mount Helix in San Diego and La Mesa. People who know that area will know exactly what it is.
Man,
that's exactly where that was. I've seen it multiple times. It didn't dawn on me what it was. That's what it is. You guys are in a Caribbean bar right now.
Yeah,
I was
at a swine bar.
I was in a I was a Helix Highlander, man.
So Epic, let's dig down here a little bit. San Diego, which of course is naval intelligence, and where the Navy SEALs are trained. Hawaii. Are you the real life Magnum PI?
He is, dude. He totally is. People have no idea.
Are we?
Well, I don't wear the short. I don't wear the short shorts. I don't have that going on,
dude.
Or the Ferrari. I don't have that. And Higgins is my landlord. But otherwise, maybe
we just need a black dude, man. Jimmy can be Rick, and I can be. I can be Higgins.
I got a story.
And we just need TJ. With a
I
helicopter.
got a story about TJ. I have a real life story about TJ. A real one.
I'm Higgins. Who's literate.
No, I have a real life interaction with TJ. So check this out. So I'm living in Las Vegas at the time, going. I just left the video store that I have with my uncle, and I'm there, and I start my electrical apprenticeship, and I'm working at the McCarran Airport, right, and doing electrical stuff at the McCarran Airport, right, Terminal D. And so we're building this Terminal D, and there's this guy working with us whose name is TJ, and the guy who's an apprentice at the time, and I was an apprentice at the time. We go to this other guy's house, and TJ comes there. And so we're all there together talking, and he's talking about the story about how he fights Mickey Rourke, the boxer. And I watched this event live. I saw it on TV, so I recognized it. Yeah, dude, I saw that fight, right? So I'm talking to him. It's like, yeah, man, they gave me all this money to go fight Mickey Rourke as a boxer, right? So he fights Mickey Rourke, and his name's TJ, and I make a joke about TJ, the helicopter pilot from Magnum PI. This is why it ties in. It's the only reason it ties in, and it's a pretty slim one. But still, so I'm talking the story to him, and he goes, yeah. So what happened was that I went and I attacked with everything I have, Mickey Rourke, right? And I just wore myself out trying to beat him up, right? And this guy comes back and he actually knocks me out, and it was legit. It wasn't like it was faked. He really did knock him out. And so, but it was because he was exhausted, right? He was drunk at the time. The guy was totally wasted when he fought Mickey Rourke, right? This was on USA
too.
What was it?
He's not joking, man.
Yeah, it was on USA Tuesday Night Fights, I believe, at the time. So it was broadcast. It was like a live thing you could watch. And so I'm talking to him. I said, that was you. Yeah, that was me, blah, blah, blah. And so he tells me the rest of the story. And the rest of the story is that after the fight, they just gave him like $500 or whatever. He goes and wastes it in the, lounge or whatever at the club in Vegas there. And he's just so wasted he has to go crash somewhere. And so he climbs up on top of an RV. It's in the parking lot at the Boulder Station Casino, I think it was. But I may be wrong, but actually I think it was Stardust. It might be the Stardust, I think, actually. Mm-hmm. And he climbs up there. And he just passes out, right? And next thing you know is he wakes up and he sees these clouds. He wakes up because it gets cold all of a sudden. There's like wind blowing over his earlobes and stuff, over his hair. And he looks up and he sees these clouds passing by, like, whoosh, 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 right? And he sits up, and the wind hits him and almost blows him off. And he realizes he's on top of this RV. He didn't realize he climbed up there, right? And he's on top of this RV going 70 miles an hour down the road on the highway, right? And so he's trying to figure out how he's going to get off this RV and not freak out the people inside, right?
Is Mickey Rourke driving the RV? Is Mickey Rourke driving the RV?
No. It was
with a crazy
look
in his face.
Just some random retired couple or whatever. But they end up pulling a rest stop, and he climbs off and hitchhikes back to Las Vegas. But that's the story behind TJ, the TJ Mickey Rourke fight on USA Tuesday Night Fights back in 1992, I guess it was. There.
Hey, man.
That's the backstory.
Bruce, there ain't no old timers day for boxers, is there?
No, man. I think it's a really cool thing to learn as a sport, but maybe do a little bit of sparring with headgear.
Man,
but it's the stupidest sport. MMA is safer, actually, because you take less blows to the head.
I gotta recommend a movie, man, and I'll tell you right now, this movie is great. It's called The Trials of Muhammad Ali.
I've been looking.
It was at the
I can't
Tribeca.
find a free copy on the internet.
You found a free copy?
I can't find a free copy.
Oh no. You'll have to pay for it. It was in the Tribeca. It was in the Tribeca Film Festival. I happened to see it on the plane. Otherwise, I would have never even known about it because they don't advertise it. It will literally blow your fucking mind when you watch this movie. Yeah. I swear to God, rent it tonight, man. It's worth it. $7.99, whatever it is. It's worth it. I'm telling you right now, it'll blow.
It was the real deal, man. It was a human being.
Man, it will blow your mind. And the thing is like I remember Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? I remember him live. I remember how it was. I remember Howard Cosell, and I remember, the way things used to be back then, when it was happening. And it was like when I saw these old footage pieces of Muhammad Ali and what a smartass he was and how funny he was and like how he told everybody he was going to be the heavyweight champion of the world by the time he was 21 years old. He had 12 white men that managed his money and managed his whole career. Check this out. This will blow your mind. When he was making all that money, the tax rate for somebody who made that kind of money was 91%.
Yeah.
91. When he fought for $1 million, he got taxed 91% off that. There's only one
and
guy.
That's,
Go ahead.
91% of what was left after 2 or 3 agents and promoters took their cut.
It was crazy. And then,
yeah, those guys get raped, man. They get absolutely raped.
The movie is about when he said, "I don't want to go fight in your war," and he protested, and they said that he was just doing it because of to avoid the war or whatever. But in the end, it's a fantastic movie, man. In the end, the Supreme Court, like in the very end, they kept having to address it because it was untested waters. Because if they would have allowed him to do it, then everybody else would be able to use that as an excuse, and they were trying to keep that from happening. It was really a powerful moment in time, and you should see. I'll tell you what, man. People talk a lot of shit about Louis Farrakhan or whatever. He's in this movie, and when you see this man, when he's speaking about Muhammad Ali and he's talking about what happened, you see the way he beams. He is beaming with love and positive vibrations, man. I'm just saying, it's like the man the way that they try to paint Louis Farrakhan, regardless of what you think of him because of how it's been presented. I'm just saying, when you watch this movie and you see him in a different environment where they're not showing him being angry about some shit, and he's just sitting there talking about Muhammad Ali and just the love on the man's face, man. Literally. I mean, just Muhammad Ali in general. It was just, people didn't even call him by his name. They said they were going to kick his ass and call him Cassius Clay. I'm going to kick your ass is what that dude said. I'm going to kick your ass and you're going to call me, I'm going to call you Cassius Clay. And he beat his ass, man. He became the world champion at 21 years old.
Who do you think would win both of them in their prime, Ali or Tyson? I say Ali.
Ali, definitely.
Absolutely, because you look at George Foreman in his prime, man. Dude had more pronounced veins in his forearm than most men have in their penis. He was like a tank. He was like that brawler type heavyweight in his time, and maybe even as good or better than Tyson himself. And Ali just dummied that dude, man. Just dummied him,
Because he could just lay back on the ropes and let you beat the shit out of him, dude.
Yeah.
He would just bounce off the ropes, and man, and I was watching him, like they were showing him like his older workouts, and he was doing this thing where he was sitting on his back and he was doing like bicycles with his feet, and then he was doing sit-ups at the same time, his bicycles with his feet and sit-ups, and he was just laying there doing that shit for hours, man. I'm telling you right now, he would just lay on them ropes and he would just take a beating. And those ropes, would take a lot of the shock, when he's bouncing off the ropes. That whole rope-a-dope thing, man, that wasn't. Plus, he was so quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think maybe Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. But they weren't heavyweights. But they were as fast, like Muhammad Ali.
Well, that was the thing about Ali, man. He had the grace of a welterweight and the movement of a welterweight. But the other guy you mentioned is hands down my favorite boxer of all time, Roberto Duran.
Roberto Duran.
I always mean to go. He owns a restaurant in Panama City now. I should fly down sometime and just shake his hand. I used to have all that dude's pictures up on my basement wall beside my heavy bag and speed bag when I was 12 years old. I cut them all out of Sports Illustrated. I read every biography. I had two heroes, Bruce Lee and Roberto Duran. And you guys know Duran's life story. Have you seen the movie? I first read it in Sports Illustrated in the 80s. Super poor family, to feed the family.
Something's happening.
Him and his brothers.
Something's happening to your calls degrading over there, Bruce.
That was weird.
Yeah, did you hear that? It was like...
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but isn't it...
Did we lose
while
Bruce?
he,
No,
well,
I saw his image went away, but he's still here. I see him on the Skype call. You know who the best boxer of all time?
We can hear you.
We hear you there. I don't want to interrupt too much, but I do want to put this in there. The best boxer I've ever seen was a guy named Gerald McClellan. Gerald McClellan was so freaking good, man. So freaking badass. So awesome. And what happened was he got in a fight with Livingston. No, not. I was going to say Livingston Brabo. That's not true. It was Tate, right? Frank Tate.
Hurricane Carter
from England, and he knocked him out of the ring 3 times, literally 3 times. And when he came back in the ring, Jerome McClellan puts his hands to the side and says, "What are you doing? Why are you letting this fight go on?" And the guy came up and cold cocked him and paralyzed him. That was the best boxer I've ever seen.
Wow.
Jerome McClellan was everything that Roy Jones Jr. and all these guys that flashed over. I won't say flash over substance, but how Whitaker, all those guys had. He had all that and the power.
No one was
fantastic.
No one was ever going to beat Tyson. That's the whole reason they destroyed his ass. Because no one, you would be a fool to bet against Tyson. You can't make any money, even money. You know.
Can you guys remember that time? Well, like what was it, like 91 when he went in to serve his time for rape, and at the same time, one of the next generation Kennedys got away with rape. I was smack dab in my last year of journalism school. It was one of the biggest topics we talked about. You know, they send Tyson to jail, and it's even dubious he raped the woman. And the Kennedy, clear cut rape, like Bill Cosby style, drugged her, everything, right? Gets away with it. And I remember it was, a really touchy time and a very touchy subject to talk about or write about, but they railroaded Tyson, man. I mean, they do that to so many great black men. They seem to like to take down the great black men, right? There's something about black men. When they get a stage or a podium, they don't back down, man. They're not afraid of anything. And that's why they got to control those guys so much, whether it's Dave Chappelle or Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was the greatest Vietnam War protester of all time. How much time did he do? How many years did he do in prison?
He did no time.
I thought he actually went to jail.
No. They kept him out of jail, as far as I know. So, but it was for 5 years. I don't think he ever served any time in jail.
Wait. We're talking about Tyson here? Yeah, Tyson.
No, Muhammad Ali.
Oh, no, Muhammad Ali didn't do it.
Because it was never decided.
He kind of did. He was, but not really.
The case was never decided.
He stayed out of prison while appealing the decision to the Supreme Court, where his conviction was overturned in 1971.
Yeah, but it was like after a whole.
He didn't fight for 4 years.
No.
And they they were his prime 4 years. He probably had 100 million in purses in him in those 4 years.
You know what?
If he did,
they tried to get fights in different states because states had to, that's what I mean. Watch that movie, dude. It'll blow your mind. It's worth the money, man. If it's not $7.99 or whatever, it's worth it. Because the guy that made it should get paid, man. Go ahead.
Well, no, I have an extended family member who dated Muhammad Ali, and so she talks about him like she was his girlfriend, and it's a trip, man. I mean, she talks about how beautiful he was. I mean, that's the word she uses. I've used it before on the show.
Yeah,
like the people who knew him called him beautiful. Like I don't mean that like in a weird way, I mean, like they literally called him beautiful.
Yeah.
At the
Well,
time.
you know, it brought a tear to my eye a couple times, and not a sad tear, but just like to see him in the way he was, just, I mean, in the moment, you know, and all and everything, the shit he was saying, you know, about it. It's not like that anymore. There's nobody that just sits there and talks off the cuff about something. Everybody's got a script now. Nobody's just off the cuff, top of their head, you know, speaking what they feel. Everybody's got some agenda they're following. They got some red lines they can't cross when they say something, when you're a celebrity or whatever. It's like he just said it like it was, man. And even like when you look back at like Howard Cosell and all those guys, the Wide World of Sports back then, you can see why sports were like the number one thing for young people, because of the way that it was, the sports figures were handled. It's like you knew names of these people in random sports for no reason. I mean, obviously the United States hockey team, you know, of course that was played up, you know, when they won the Olympics, you know, that kind of thing. And you had like all these runners that were just breaking records all over the place, this type of thing. You knew all their names, you know, and every year it was all this different shit, you know. Football was different. I mean, this was at the very impetus of what we see now that's turned into this giant machine. It's like back then it was all raw. It was actually happening. But now it's like a character like Muhammad Ali would be a character of a character. It would be a cartoon of something that existed organically back in this day when Muhammad Ali was actually doing it. Now you have some guy pretending to do it because he's acting like Muhammad Ali, only he's controlled. He seems like Muhammad Ali, but the one aspect of it is Muhammad Ali was raw coming off the top of his head, and this guy, he's like Muhammad Ali. He speaks his mind, kind of, except for he's speaking a script now. It's all...
It's a template. It's a template, right? It's not what it is. Like he made a template for people to copy. It's not organic like it was when Ali did it.
Mm-mm.
Ali did it because,
any of those people.
In the time.
Or any of them, man. Look at Joe Namath. Go back and look at with that whole thing that happened with Joe Namath. You know what I mean? Joe Namath and the Jets. What was it, the 72 Jets?
I saw that as a kid.
We did a show about that. We did a show about the 72. I'm pretty sure it was the 72 Jets. We did a show about Joe Namath. I'm just saying, man, you look back at some of these players, Joe Namath, Tyson, even before Tyson, though, like Bruce was saying, Foreman and all that. Remember this fucking Ali Rumble in the Jungle? That's a good documentary to watch, too, if you never saw that. Go watch that documentary about how they got a fight there. Rumble in the Jungle, man. That is unbelievable.
After a coup. Right, I know, right?
One of the most interesting takes on that fight that never happened was Rolling Stone sending Hunter Thompson down to cover it, and he got drunk and missed the fight. And you know, that had to be really drunk for him to miss something, right?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, no, I mean, those fight, was that why they were fighting over there in those countries now? Is that so they could beat this thing that he was under? That he could only
it was actually.
I mean, it was...
the Zaire thing was because they couldn't fight in America because of the restrictions that were on them. So there's no way that fight could really happen was like that. And even at the time when those restrictions were slightly loosened because of the court time ran out and all the whatever it's called, the restrictions were lifted here in America. It wasn't worth trying to make this multi-million-dollar fight without having the possibility of that happening again. So they went somewhere else, and that's what they did. And I think that this is one of those examples of, it's like the World Cup today, man. It's like the World Cup today. It's like you make so much money that it doesn't really matter if it's right or wrong, right?
Oh man!
And the only difference is that in this case maybe the best fighter wins, right?
Listen to this.
Back then.
Listen to this here. Now I got something here. let me play this. The true story behind the rumble in the jungle. I'm rolling the dice.
On the 30th of October 1974, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world met the most famous boxer of all time in Kinshasa, the capital of Zaire. The watching crowd of 60,000 included celebrities and literary figures. The fight between George Foreman and his superstar challenger Muhammad Ali was dubbed the Rumble in the Jungle and is considered to be one of the greatest sporting events of all time. The fight was watched by an estimated worldwide television audience of 1 billion, becoming the world's most watched live television broadcast at the time. This included a record estimated 50 million viewers watching the fight pay-per-view on television.
Damn. 50 million pay-per-viewers. Can you believe that? How much was it? It was probably like $79.95 or some shit like that. It's crazy, man.
In total, the fight grossed an estimated revenue of $100 million, which would be equivalent to $500 million in today's money. But the story of the Rumble in the Jungle fight is bigger than just two of history's best boxers battling out in front of 60,000 people. The man that pulled it all together was the famous boxing promoter Don King. The Rumble in the Jungle fight was among his first ventures into boxing. Before he got into boxing, he was an illegal bookmaker with a checkered past that includes 2 manslaughter convictions. To finance the fight, King put together a group of investors who stood to earn big money when the fight was broadcast in theaters across the US and on television screens across the world. King managed to get Ali and Foreman to sign separate contracts, saying they would fight for him if he could guarantee the two fighters $5 million each. Such an amount of money was quite enormous for those days, but it was believed that the high offer would prevent other top boxing promoters from attempting to arrange a Foreman versus Ali match. But while King had united a wealthy group of backers, he would need yet more money to bankroll the prize money that he promised each fighter. To do so, he required someone possessing vast wealth and an even larger ego. King found his man in Mobutu Sese Seko, the president of Zaire. Mobutu seized the presidency in 1965 through a coup supported by Belgium and the United States. He immediately started consolidating his control of the Zaire government. A few days after his rise to power, he turned over most of the parliament's legislative powers to himself and his cabinet. But the parliament...
Alright. Here, let me skip to the Rumble. Hang on. Here comes the Rumble in the Jungle.
Seemingly never-ending wait and considerable hype, Ali and Foreman stepped into the ring at Kinshasa's 20th of May Stadium. By the time they did so, it was 4 a.m. local time, which allowed the fight to be screened at 10 p.m. in key U.S. markets. Foreman, the reigning heavyweight champion, was the favorite to win. He was 7 years younger than Ali, a ferocious hitter and built like a tank. The bookies felt sure he would have too much for the savvy 32-year-old. Ali was no longer a youngster. Though not overweight, he was puffier than his youth, a look that suggested a degree of...
Look at him, man. He's right in his face, man, talking shit. He's going, I'm gonna knock you the fuck. You're gonna call me Muhammad Ali, boy. That's what he's saying. He's like, I'm gonna knock you out, dude. I am gonna kick your ass right now. He's scaring him. Look at him. Look at George Foreman. See, I thought Foreman was gonna win. That was my prediction.
Slowness. In fact, there were sincere concerns for Ali's safety. Such was Foreman's ferocity. The champion had won his previous 8 fights inside the first 2 rounds, including victories against the 2 men who had beaten Ali. He was machine-like in his demolition of opponents. Aware that beating Foreman would require something different, Ali deployed a dangerous and incredibly brave strategy. Dubbed the rope-a-dope, his game plan was to retreat to the ropes and allow Foreman to unleash blows at will, with Ali dodging the worst but taking many to his body and arms. Despite the onslaught, Ali survived while Foreman began to tire. The champion hadn't fought beyond the 4th round in more than 3 years. As the fight progressed, he was heading into uncharted territory. With Foreman tiring, his downfall became inevitable. He was conditioned to finish his prey quickly, not pursue it for an hour. Ali came out punching in the 8th, and Foreman had no answer. With seconds remaining in the round, the challenger floored the champion, who was as exhausted as he was hurt. The fight was stopped, and the 60,000 crowd erupted. Incredibly, Ali was champion once more. Foreman and
Never gonna be another one of those, boys. Never gonna be another one of those.
Nobody gave him a chance, dude. I was old enough as a preteen at the time to remember how big of a deal that was. And everybody was talking about nobody, not a soul on the earth gave Ali a chance in that fight. Nobody.
way. I
Lifetime, nobody gave him a chance.
Lots of
They thought
people.
he was gonna,
Lots of
yeah.
people hated Ali back then too, because he talked so much shit.
Yeah.
You know what I
but
mean?
nobody gave a chance. Like it was like a foregone conclusion. He's going to get wiped out by Foreman, you know. And so it shows you like how it's not about underdog or somebody who's being the dog is. Whom I think of it today. It's just a matter of will, right? Like what the will is, like the will of the person at the time. Foreman's clearly a more physical specimen than Ali was. Ali literally should not have been able to compete.
Would you say Foreman is equal to a Tyson?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Maybe
absolutely.
even more Tyson than Tyson.
More Tyson. Yeah. And in their prime, Tyson wouldn't stand a chance against Foreman. I don't think. I really believe that. George Foreman was such a badass dude. He would lift people off.
He was a
ground
badass.
With a punch off the ground, dude. Off the ground.
I know
200
everybody
pound
wanted
man off the ground.
everybody wanted Foreman to win too. Most people were betting were betting on Foreman.
You think it's fixed like the NFL?
Well, it is now. It definitely is now. I don't trust boxing at all anymore. I lost my. I loved boxing, man. I recorded every fight, flyweight on up. You know, from the time I was a teenager, when video capability came around, and I tracked these fighters through their entire careers, and there were so many great fighters, and it really peaked in the welterweight and middleweight time of Duran and Aaron Pryor and Sugar Ray Leonard and all those guys in the welterweight division and so many, man. Let's see, what was his name? Thomas Hearns.
Well,
I mean,
Thomas
it's never
the
going to be a time like
Hitman.
that again. Like how can anything today ever stand up to that? Like that was so
It's
pivotal.
never
Like that was such great
shit is
It's
never
a great time in boxing.
gonna be like that again, man. Now there is no innovation. Now it's only discovering something that's already been there and bringing it to the forefront again. It's like all this shit. It's like this music now. A lot of music that's out there now sounds like new wave from the 80s or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like they tried to hit the population with a certain kind of music at a certain time, but it wasn't ready for it. And now is a time when people are ready for whatever they throw. But it's not original anymore. There's no originality. Where's something original? You know what I mean? It's hard to find. I gotta get some coffee. So you guys wanna talk about Thanksgiving? I mean, I say leave the birds alone, Bruce. I say love birds, don't eat them. Bruce.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the trees at Christmas too.
I know. Well, you guys want to jump in here and let me go grab myself a hot cup of Joe if you want to continue.
Yeah, man.
All right.
What do you want to talk about, Epic?
Well, I think the sustainability thing is probably a good one to talk about because since you're down there in South America, and I'm here in Hawaii, right? So sustainability is probably a good thing to talk about. I think that we're in a position now where, like here in Hawaii, we have so many chickens running around wild and so many wild hogs running around that initially we're in meat-wise, we're in good shape, right? But of course, you can't sustain a civilization that way. We're just killing all the meat right away because then you'll be starving in a year or two.
Let me just ask you right out of the gate, because you chose sustainability as your topic. Do you think it's going to even be an issue with the level of depopulation we're going to experience in the next decade?
Well, I don't know, because I think Asia is going to see a severe decline. It's like severe, like
everybody.
maybe everybody,
in trouble.
but
Nothing is
yeah,
going to work out. Nothing's going to work out. Nobody's going to be able to grab the reins. Schwab and his Great Reset's going to fail. Everything's going to fail. And because they're not dealing with the reality in front of us, and the global leaders are planning on depopulation and the Great Reset, what is going to come is chaos, right? Because there's going to be no leadership. There's going to be no anything really. And, here's a little fact about human beings, Epic. Most people don't kill other human beings just because they're afraid of going to jail. Once there's no more law, there's no more penitentiary, there's nothing. We're going back to like the Texas-Mexico border in 1855, right? Although
we
it
don't
might
want it
not
to happen, though.
because
right.
it might not.
We don't want it to happen.
Because
That's exactly why it won't.
What?
Well, I'm saying the fact that people are aware that that's going to happen is the reason it won't happen. But it's only because of awareness. I guess that's the key word, right? Like awareness is what it's all about. If people are aware this is the outcome, which a lot of people are, they're going to do something to stop that. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's where it's going to go. I think more likely what's going to happen is that the sustainability issue is going to become an issue where we're going to start realizing that there's only so much water. There's only so much that we can do, right? And we're going to have to either collaborate or disintegrate, if that makes sense. At some point, it's in our mutual interest to do the best thing. So that's the best thing for world peace is realizing the situation. But the situation is cataclysmic, and it's coming at a rapid pace. And I don't think that most people, well, I know that most people in general aren't aware of it, but I do think that the people who are paid or in those positions of power that think about this do know that's what's going on. And that's why they're trying these things like these ridiculous wars in Europe and all this other stuff, is because they want to try to hedge their bets, right, to get in the best position. Ukraine has more than any other country on the planet. You know what they have? Water. They have water. That's it. They have the most surface land water on the planet. They do.
No,
that one country. Yeah.
No.
And here. Well, we're not talking.
No,
They're talking about. Okay. Well, no.
No.
Okay. If you're talking about the Amazon, South America.
No. Believe me when I tell you, I know which country has the most fresh water in the world. A full 1/3 of the world's fresh water resides in one country. I'll give you a hint, Epic. I was born there.
Oh, Canada. Well, we talk about glacial ice. Yeah. So, yeah. But that you can make an argument for Iceland, which is a tiny country. Of course, landmass won't equate. So we're talking about glacial ice. Yeah, but we're talking about like actual flowing rivers. Ukraine has like the most land water base there is on the planet. Of actual free flowing water. And so, yeah, no, I agree with you though that actually it's an irony that place has become a point of conflict right now, because in reality the former Soviet Union, Russia, has the most untapped water resources on the planet. I mean, when the ice caps melt, I mean, there it is. It's Siberia, right? I mean, it's got all this stuff, and they have those trees. All the things that people need to sustain life on Earth are there in that particular region, because they own the largest landmass. But I will say that when you look at what's going on with this war in Ukraine, it does kind of feel like water wars. It does to me, because when we look at how these things have been planned out in science fiction novels, and all these plot ploys, or ploy is not the right word, plot mechanisms in movies and stuff, right? In books, it's always about monopolizing these kind of resources. and Ukraine has some in spades, right? So it's kind of silly because until the ice caps do melt, right, Ukraine is the place. But once it does, I mean, yeah, Canada and Siberia are going to be huge for water resources, freshwater resources. But until that point happens, it's Ukraine. Ukraine. Every time I watch these war maps of Ukraine, you know, I'm boggled by the fact that these land obstacles that the forces have to fight against are these lakes and rivers and reservoirs, right? I mean, that's so many. Yeah, and all this grain that goes to the third world comes from Ukraine. It was always right there in front of our face in a way, if you look at it that way. And when we look at it this way now, it's like, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. This is a real battlefield.
Yeah. So what foreign country has more advisory boots on the ground in Ukraine than any other?
Iran, probably right now. Iran.
No, in Ukraine, not in Russia.
Are you saying actually on the ground?
Who's helping
in physical
Who's
Ukraine?
helping Ukraine logistically with everything? Well, who do you think it is?
Well.
You think the Green Berets are there coordinating?
No. Actually, I know the answer to this question, but it's a complicated one. So the most tactical, valuable information is provided by the United States in the form of their what we call AWACS. They're not really just AWACS anymore. There's just different planes that do it, but those planes with their downward-looking radar and outward-looking radar have the most effect on intelligence for Ukraine of any asset that they have, and then of course the satellite stuff. So we'd say United States in that sense. But if you go beyond that, you say, well, is it more than that? What country gives the most benefit from intelligence? It might be Great Britain, actually. Great Britain's doing a really good work on the intelligence side. Is doing probably the most. But I'm not sure if that answers your question. But yeah,
well, I think
that's where it's at.
I think it's Great Britain, United States, and Israel, the triumvirate of evil, basically. Right, and I got to tell you, Epic, and you're not going to like this, but I'm actually rooting for Vladimir Putin in this war, and I think the consequences of him.
So why? Well, before we go on, why are you rooting for Vladimir Putin in this one? This is my question. Why on earth?
Because I think he's morally right.
Why do you
I think he's morally right because it became manifestly evident from about 2012 onward that the West was going to keep pressing until they toppled and took over Russia. See, Russia has an integral government. It's not a puppet government, and it's not a subservient government. These people don't like that, Epic. They control everything, and they don't like not controlling things. And I think it was only a matter of time before the NATO moved into the Ukraine, and what did we do when the Russians put missiles in Cuba? How did we feel about it? We didn't like it. So basically it's this simple to me, Epic. I forgo all the political science and all the nonsense, although most honest political scientists now, if you watch them give lectures on YouTube, are saying the same thing I'm saying, that this was a provoked war, that Putin was provoked. Putin has wanted to cooperate with the West for 20 years. I mean, he was in the G20 for a while, right? Or he was in the G8 for a while, actually. And they booted him out. It was all over Ukraine. And so I think that when you're attacked, you have a right to defend yourself. And I think in a typical fashion, we are the aggressors. And generally, we're always the aggressors. It's just that simple. We're always the aggressors. And I'm sick of it. And I don't want the karma. Okay? And there's always consequence to action. It may not be as fast as people like, it's not a bolt of lightning taking out your enemy. for transgressing, but it's still there. You know, what's the old saying? The mill grinds the wheat slowly, but it grinds it fine. It's like that. So we're not going to win this thing in Ukraine, and this is, and really, again, we go back to the same point. Okay, the Federal Reserve, Wall Street, the Treasury officials, they all told Biden the same thing: don't sanction Russia; it'll be a disaster. So the real war is the United States versus Europe, Western Europe, our allies. Look at what we did to Germany. We blew up Nord Stream 2. You know, you do agree with that, right, Epic? We blew that up, right? You're not really.
Well, it was an email sent from the Ukraine, from the woman who resigned. She sent an email right after it happened to Biden saying it was done. Supposedly, I mean, I don't know where the email came.
That's in 2014. That has something to do with the Zelensky administration. And so what I'll say right now is that this idea of trying to recreate the Catherine the Great Russian Empire at the cost of all the lives of innocent Ukrainians is morally and ethically wrong. There's no doubt about this. I mean, there's no middle ground here. You can't just go kill people because you want to take their land. What the F are people talking about here? Look, dude, here's the thing. Once it got to the point that this was initiated to where Putin decided he was going to do this, you know what Putin did? He mowed down with artillery entire cities in Syria, entire cities. And that's what he decided to do in Mariupol and all these other places in Ukraine, to kill everybody, every bit of life, whether it be a butterfly or a person there. And that's what he did. That is evil. That is evil. It doesn't matter what other ethical or moral high ground thinking claims. When you do that, you've lost it all.
Bruce,
he is fucking on the wrong side, pardon my French, of this.
Bruce looks
and
like,
there's no question about it.
Me and Bruce look like Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta in the kitchen when homeboy's saying he don't want to talk about the coffee in his kitchen. That's what you look like, Samuel L. Jackson over there, Bruce, standing with your coffee cup while the old Jimmy's yelling at John Travolta. Knock it off, Julie.
I don't know that he mowed down whole cities. Well, I mean, come on, man. I mean, are we gonna have a contest about who's more evil? Okay, what about the hold on.
Yes, he did.
You want to talk war crimes? Hold on. Tit for tat. This is how debate's done. You made a point. It's my turn. What about the 100,000 Iraqis buried alive? When they went in the first time in the 90s. And George Bush Sr., they actually surrendered, and George Bush said, just kill them all. It's like 100,000. And then they bulldozed them and buried them in the desert.
Did he say let God sort them out after he said kill them all?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think George Bush Sr. was probably the closest we've ever had to behind-the-scenes power and front stage power merged into one being.
Yeah.
The people we're getting now, like Zelensky and Trudeau and Macron, they're just actors. They can't talk about anything intelligently. Epic.
Let me interject here that I do think that George H.W. Bush is evil incarnate. He killed those people in Jonestown.
So Epic.
He killed those people in Jonestown. He killed those people in the first Gulf War. Yeah, he's not a good person.
We're
in agreement there. It's a different situation over a different time frame.
Epic. Every single time this subject comes up, and I mean, I know we're just over here on YouTube, but you do know that every time this subject comes up, that people get all bent out of shape about where you're coming from on this, because they think that you're like there's a comment in the chat where it says something about Epic is brainwashed or some shit. I don't know what it said.
Oh, well, I've been to Iraq. Where have you been, motherfucker? Pardon my
I'm just
Where
saying.
were you when I was there? I was fucking there.
That's what I mean. But I see. But the
there.
thing is they don't understand.
Go there and tell me what you think about it.
But thing is, they don't.
Go there and tell me what you think after you've been there.
Dude, they don't understand that where you're coming from though, because see, they hear what you're saying, but they don't understand where you're coming from. See, that you have been there, that you do understand what's going on over there. So the thing is I was just trying to. The reason I was bringing it up is because I wanted you to, clear up for people. People think you're like a cold warrior or some shit like that. That's that the reason that you're coming at this like this is because you're from the Cold War era or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally appreciate that. Like the difference is like when I went there, the reason that I went to Iraq, and I didn't have to go to Iraq, right? I was an electrician at the time. I didn't have to go there. I decided, but I was listening to all these stories leading up into the first. Not when I talk about the first Gulf War. I mean, let me rephrase that. The second Gulf War, right? When we were going to go in there for to take out Saddam, right? And I was listening to all this hyperbole put in the media at the time, and I'm like, well, this can't possibly be true, and I don't believe it, right? I don't believe it. So I'm thinking, the only way that I can resolve this for myself is to go there. So I volunteered to go with KBR Halliburton, and I did. I went there as an electrician, and I went there. I ended up being an operations manager there, eventually. But I went there. I went there in 2003. I ended up there. I was there. I was actually in Jordan when they caught Saddam in the spider hole. We're supposed to already have been there, but we had to contract, ironically, this Russian.
When they caught him in the spider hole.
Yeah, when they caught him in the spider hole, I was actually, we were supposed to already been in Iraq at the time, but we were stuck in this hotel in Jordan because what happened was that the plane we were supposed to fly over on was this Russian plane, was like duct taped together, and it wouldn't give it clearance to come into the, fly into Baghdad space because they didn't think the plane would make it. And so we ended up on a plane anyway. And so what happens is we flew into Baghdad. We came up really high, and it had this really hot, I think she was Ukrainian, stewardess, if you will. And this guy was sitting next to me with his greasy overalls, kept diving into this manhole cover in the plane to go work on the plane while it was flying. Right, and he'd come back up to me like Yakov Smirnoff or something from some comedy skit, right? And he'd sit next to me and he'd nod at me. Oh yeah, it's good, and he'd dive back down into this manhole.
So what about like Fallujah, man? What happened?
No. But so check this out. So my point is that he dives in there, and we end up way up high. We spiral down this high attack angle, down into the airport. We think we're going to die, to get there. And it's a prop-driven plane, mind you, right? And we get there, and we come in, and it's like, it's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous. We get there, and there's nobody in control. Nobody in control. This is what I emphasize about the Iraq War. Nobody was in control. It was a grift. The whole thing was a grift. It was all the people who were there. You know what they're there for? To make money while they're there. I can tell you 100% absolutely true from me being boots on the ground. That's exactly what it was. And they got what they wanted early on, which I think was that museum thing in Baghdad because I'm a conspiracy guy. And I think that's exactly what they went to and got. And once they got that, then, all it was about making money. You pay for the
You know what the best thing about being a conspiracy theorist is? No myocarditis. No myocarditis.
Well, I just want to say, like as far as like comparing this to Ukraine, it's different. It's different.
Bruce, what are you gonna say? Bruce wants to ask you something.
One simple line for 10 minutes. I think Epic's on the sauce tonight, and that's warranted. It's Thanksgiving weekend, man. But
well, I haven't been a sauce for weeks actually.
I just want to say one simple thing, Epic. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for recognizing my service.
There you go.
Yeah.
You put your life on the line. any man or woman that does that has my respect, even if the cause they're involved in is not completely kosher, right? But that character in human beings, the character to sacrifice for a higher principle, is very admirable, very beautiful. You have it, brother, and thank you for your service, man. And I'm Canadian, but most of our protection's done by the U.S. anyways.
Mhm.
Anyways,
I just want to point out.
Yeah, now
This whole
On the Ukraine thing, I just want to point out that the issue here isn't that complicated. The issue here is a long-term goal. A long-term goal. You know, there used to be 5-year plans, right? Russia's famous for 5-year plans. That's what they did, right? The old Soviet Union was famous for 5-year plans, but this is a 10-year plan, and the 10-year plan was. We talk about different people along the way that have exposed this, but what was to take America down by
I mean, I don't understand why people
morally.
I don't understand why people think there really is an adversary to any of this. That the adversary has not been inserted and that the adversary is not fully aware of the script. The adversary sits at the table with everybody else and reads the script, and they go play their part. And then the ramifications of that happen across the world like they're happening now. So, I mean, we're seeing something going on, and it's not just happening to the American public. I mean, what's happening here with the price of gas and all that, they're just going to get you used to paying that much for gas. When things in the Ukraine settle down, you think gas is going back down? No.
Not at all. It's the new normal, Jimmy. The new normal.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I already been paying $5 a gallon for gas for a long time. So in California, and I'm sure you've been paying somewhere between 3 and 5 over there, right? Epic. You've been 3 and 5.
The best thing, I heard the best thing ever today on a traditional news source. And I forget which network it was, but it was right. What they said was that they were talking about the World Cup, right? And how the World Cup is just this massive grift. And they make billions of dollars off the World Cup. And it doesn't matter what the sanctions are. It doesn't matter what the laws are. It doesn't matter anything. The people involved that get the World Cup and get to promote it and get to actually host it make all these billions of dollars based on the World Cup in soccer, right? But the thing is that when you look at this from a moral quandary as us as humanity, and that's how you have to look at it, right? Us as humanity. It's this fight against good and evil. I mean, the ability for one of us, or any of us, to choose what's right over what's profitable, right? And so what happens is, the World Cup's a perfect example of how the profit margin is so tempting, that people sell out and become essentially, I won't say evil, but they succumb to this temptation to profit over what's right. So all these people died. They died building the Qatar World Cup stadium. They were brought over on claims to get paid, and they didn't get paid. They were brought over and lived in terrible conditions because they were supposed to be paid, and they weren't paid. And when they died, nobody cared because nobody knows about it, and they still profit off the World Cup. And so this massive grift is the thing. And so
the massive thing is that it doesn't matter who
ties in directly to Iraq.
But it doesn't matter who wins at the World Cup, though.
I saw the massive grift, and that's it.
What I'm saying is it matters not to the people that are running shit. They're running the thing. They don't give a shit who wins the World Cup. The dude who loses the World Cup, the people that like that team, they drank just as many beer. Matter of fact, they probably drank more beer. The people that, oh wait, they don't allow beer in Qatar now. But anyway, the point is, it doesn't matter. It's the same with politics. It's the same with Putin and Ukraine and Zelensky and the European Union and the UK and all this bullshit. It's all a bunch of stories, man. It's stories for the people that live in the region, and it's stories for developing a mindset worldwide. And what's going on right now is a transmutation of the American dream is being transmuted into the Chinese system, just like Maurice Strong said it was going to be. The world is going to be run on a Chinese system. And they're going to use capitalism as the dog to beat and say, look, it didn't work. Look at America, how corrupt it is. Look at the moral decay of what it is to be a capitalist. Let's all come together under the Chinese model. Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I just want to say, Jimmy, I agree 100%. All signs indicate that this is the direction it's going in. Now, to get this leadership, which they're literally handing to the Chinese now, right? Which is why they're collapsing the West, and they're gonna massively depopulate the West. And China's going to massively depopulate as well, but theirs is, I think, the generational consequence of the one-child policy, as opposed to actually killing their own people. But we're in the full on in the Iron Age right now, the Kali Yuga. This is as dark as humanity gets. Okay, stuff we've been talking about on radio. This roller coaster ride ain't over until all of that. They're doing it in public. Like, you're going to be seeing the YouTube videos of the baby sacrifices and everything. It's just all going to come out because it's universal law, right? You have to disclose. And quite frankly, they're tired of hiding. They're not ashamed of what they do. They're tired of hiding it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the power is being turned over to China, and they're going to operate with Chinese labor. And it's basically the same people running the banking system. And that is really the control mechanism off of which the world is run. You guys, I'm really going to put a bug up Epic's ass now. Watch this, Jimmy. One of the greatest truth tellers of our generation. Wait for it. Steven Seagal. Go back and watch his first movie, Above the Law. The rooftop conversation with the CIA agent. He lays it all out right there in 1988. Go and watch his third or fourth movie, On Deadly Ground, where he talks about the oil company in the Arctic. Okay? And then anyone they don't like, they make a laughing stock out of them. Like, you're starting to see it with Kanye West now. So the big story today circulating on all the TMZ-style websites, which are just a distribution point for the propaganda system that supports these people, is he used to show intimate sex tapes of him and Kim Kardashian to employees at his company on his phone. Like, what a piece of shit. Yeah, why are you telling us now? Why didn't you tell us this in 2018 so we could have morally decided not to buy his products?
I think they were talking about, he showed those pictures to the representatives of Adidas when he was making his deal for Adidas, his Adidas deal. But the other thing was, I saw that he can't use his Apple Pay anymore.
Yeah. It's like the guy stands up and says Jews run the world. The Jews say no, they don't, and the next day his life is destroyed.
Yeah.
Norm Macdonald has a joke about this. He did it on SNL. You can catch it on. It was when Marlon Brando did that Connie Chung interview. Brando said the same thing. He said a very similar thing about the Jewish population in Hollywood, and no disparagement against the Jewish population here, folks. Torah Jews are a benefit to the whole human race, God-centered people, and they can take their place in the religious and spiritual culture of the world. But let's be honest, just like there's boy buggerers in the Vatican, there's a bad cell in Judaica, okay? And so Norm Macdonald does this joke. He says, Marlon Brando was severely chastised for commenting on the Jews' control of Hollywood in a interview with Connie Chung. And the Jewish community vehemently denied the claim, and Marlon Brando issued an apology 3 days later, and he's cleared to work again. It's just What's the old
Well,
Descartes
there's a
saying?
you know there's
If
a
you
really
want to know who runs you, just find out who you can't criticize.
there's a real interesting there's a real interesting documentary about the formation of Hollywood and who it was that actually formed Hollywood in the very beginning. So unfortunately for a lot of people, they don't realize the history of Hollywood, which was it was started by these Polish Jews, these refugees who came over here from the slums of Poland, and they were the ones
That's all true.
yeah. And I mean, there's a really great documentary about it. But I mean, I'm just saying, if you started the industry and you ran the industry, there's going to be a lot of people that are in there. And it's not because there's anything weird or sneaky going on. They happen to be the ones that started the fucking thing. So I don't see what people are so upset about that there's people in there or whatever. You know what I mean? It's in any other circumstance, you'd call that entrepreneurial spirit. But for some reason...
Well, I think...
Go ahead.
I think when you get to a position of equitable production that you're regarded as an asset, and if you stop producing and making money for them, they narcotize you and institutionalize you. I'd say, Jimmy, that's the example of the bad stuff we're talking about, right? I mean, apply it to any other business. I mean, if you didn't make a credit card company and Wells Fargo showed up at your door, narcotized you, and threw you into an insane asylum for 6 weeks, would you say there's something wrong in the banking business? Of course you would, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know how we got on this topic.
Well, no, I mean, it's it makes sense because the thing is that is pretty much the reason for a lot of it is that there's a negative aspect of something, and then that's the aspect of it that the American public get beat over the head with. The thing is that if that's what people think, if people think there's some secret thing going on or whatever, and blah blah blah, and then they look around and they see that just about every one of these professional organizations are run by certain people. I mean, at what point do they go, well, I guess they are the superior ones then, because they run everything. So, I mean, I guess they won then, didn't they? I mean, what else?
I in the chat. I dropped it in the chat, right? Like an empire of their own. That's a movie. It's a documentary they made about this, and I'm talking about the Jewish community, about how they, instilled Hollywood to be their own place, right? Their own special place,
right? And it was like this.
It's not us like on the outside looking in. They're saying they did it, right? So when you look at a movie like Walk Hard, which is a great movie, by the way, but I think nobody's ever seen it. You should watch this movie.
I've seen it.
It's they poke fun at it, and they poke fun at it because it's true, right? Yeah, it is what it is. So I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, though. I don't think it's like a bad thing. It's just like anything else. It's like when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, well, that they got that, and NASCAR has their thing. It's kind of the same thing.
And the truth is, when you spend too much time on this topic and this group, you miss some other juicy topics, like the crazy Scientologists or the crazy Mormons who are just completely nuts and nobody calls them out on their shit. And
dude.
Yeah.
No. Let's dwell down a little bit. The idea of the process spawned off of Scientology. I mean, directly from L. Ron Hubbard. I mean, and these people were gifted auditor readers that started the Process Church. But when you look at the Process Church and what they were involved in, it's so fantastical as to be almost unbelievable. Except it's real. Yeah. It's real, Right. And it's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Process is a case study in how a small group can have so much effect on societies in the world, because they're not that big, right? I mean, I think they get overplayed a little bit, right? And basically,
they do like with the book that what's his face wrote, the Son of Sam killings, right? Mari Terry's book, Ultimate Evil. Yeah, they totally overplayed in that. I've read those books, guys. Reading works, man.
They took down John Brisson's channel. They took away they took John Brisson's YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean we're getting to a point of human degradation now where the next reset is going to be God. Seriously, I'm not joking. It's going to be God, right? So because this stuff's intolerable, man. When people when a species stops procreating correctly and respecting new life and continuity of generations, you can just set your stopwatch to the destruction of that society, or societies infected with this spirit, right? So we're in the last days of Pompeii now, and the only way to survive is to go off on your own. You know.
Hey, I want to point. Can I point something out, Bruce?
Yeah.
Today, Alex Jones had a show. Today, came on, and the first hour, he answered back to our show that we did last Friday night. He literally sat there. He literally sat there for an hour talking about how come the thing with Trump and how he wasn't going to support him and all this shit. It's almost as though he listened to the show from Friday night and did a whole hour on fucking covering his ass. I swear to God, man.
Well,
go and listen to it and tell me what you think.
A lot of people believe Trump is the only option, right? This is basically how they get rats to move through a maze, right? So we're being ushered to Trump by a certain group of people because they want to get something out of America before America collapses. But I don't. The saddest thing about over the two options right now, Biden-Harris and the Democrat platform with its wokeness, its changing of language, its gender crusade, and all of this stuff. You give me a choice, I choose the Republicans, okay? Under Donald Trump or under somebody else. Because I say this all the time. It's very simple for me. I believe in the nation state. I believe globalization will be a degradation of the human experience. I think even large nations are a degradation of the human experience, and the power of federal governments should be neutralized and transferred more power to states and municipalities. You have the freest life when the governing forces are close and accessible to you. When they're abstract and thousands of kilometers away, as is the case with, Mr. Smith goes to Washington. This idea has been out there for decades. So when we go to globalization, it just gets worse because what it's going to do is it's going to give all the national leaders just a blanket excuse for anything. Well, there's nothing we can do. We signed into this global agenda, and this is the vote at the United Nations, and blah, 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 blah. And they're going to be able to do all of these things without any accountability, right? Because that's what happens when you sign global treaties that nullify national power. And so that's very simply why I support Trump. I don't really like him, Epic. I have no doubt that he's as scummy as you describe him as. But riddle me this. What other options are there right now? And secondly, do you believe in the nation state over globalization?
I have Tom New here. So yeah. Well, I do think that Trump is a childish narcissist is the last thing on earth we'll ever want to have, in power at all. And I think that also this supreme wokeness of the other side has been exploited ad nauseum by the right is partially true. And I don't know why this is so let's delve down. Let's deep dive into this a little bit. So 0.002% by my math that I've looked into, and you guys can check me out on it, of the U.S. population is transgender. 0.002%. I mean that's like so negligible that it's almost non-existent, right? I mean it really is. It's like non-existent. So why is this a focal point? Well, it's a focal point because Steve Bannon and Dugin made it a focal point because they want Putin to have power as the savior, as the Orthodox Christian savior of the world, as their, champion. And why I say that is because that is the only gambit that will work, the only gambit that might work, and it might work actually, to make it worthwhile. There's a competition. Let me rephrase it a little bit and set up the stage. The competition is that only so many people in the world have a chance of being king of the world. The air quotes, king of the world, right? It's Xi, it's Putin, and somebody in Europe. It's not anybody here in the United States, by the way. Not a soul, not a single one, right? But somebody would be. You can make a bigger point for it being the Prime Minister of Canada than it can for it being the President of the United States in this case, right? But this is the competition. Like, who will be the ruler of the world, right? And I think she has the upper hand, actually. But the thing is, there's no way to resolve this without fighting out some certain, low-hanging
Well, let's
fruit.
just say that every nation, if this was to go forward into a globalization format, so every nation would have so many representatives from the nation to equal so many people, right? But so just from sheer numbers, okay, India and China, okay, their populations, I mean, the middle class in China is as big as the whole United States. So if you got down to a democratic style voting blocks for each of these nations, each nation would have so many people, just like our representative government does now. So United States representatives, there'd be representatives for so many million, and there'd be so many 300 million people in the United States, just say. So let's say there'd be 300 representatives for all those people that would go to this body.
But
go ahead.
But America will have more representatives than most people at the table. In other words, as sad as it sounds, and it's true, America is going to have more representatives than somebody from Kenya. America is going to have more representatives than somebody from Botswana. That's just the way it is.
Well, right? That's just like it is. That's like it is now.
You want to know? It's relative to the power of the people, in play here. So, you know what I'm saying is like this is the end game. The end game is to choose who the world ruler will be, right? Because eventually people are going to live. They're going to be immortal, right? They are going to be immortal, and once you choose these people to be your leader, you aren't going to dispose them. That is the end game. That is the end game. So I don't think people realize what we're fighting against. And I'm going to say I don't think. I know people don't know that's what we're fighting against. But that is what we're fighting against. And so we can't let people get to that point. And they're going to get to that point. And right now, it's Xi. And
go ahead, Epic.
Putin.
Go ahead, Bruce. Bruce is trying to get in there. Go ahead, Bruce.
Epic and Jimmy, have you guys ever heard about this pill they have where if you're 85 years old, you take it and you regress back to 24 and your IQ goes up 400% or something? Or like 4 times to 400?
It works in mice. It works in mice, and it's real. Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah, William Tompkins in Selected by Extraterrestrials, his book talks about it. And I do believe that actually exists. As Jimmy knows, I have a few friends in the super soldier circles, and a lot of them do, let's say, space missions. They give 20 years, and when they're done, they're rolled back 20 years. They get the 20 years back. So you're basically looking at a 50-year-old man in a 30-year-old body, or a 40-year-old man in a 20-year-old body, right? So this is a form of immortality or life extension. And what we know about human nature is when a human being who is not centered in God gets an advantage over other human beings, they just take full advantage of it, right? So in their minds, this is a man-made evolution where we go from Homo sapien to Homus immortal, right? And they see it as natural. They see it as Darwinian, and they don't have any shame about it. And if you look at nature closely, could you really say they're wrong? I mean, they have a case to make. There's no doubt about it. Everything in nature is survival of the fittest, but the whole point of human beings is that we're supposed to transcend that model. It's true we come from nature. Our bodies are made of the 5 elements: air, earth, fire, water, and electricity. One of those things is missing, and we don't function, right? So, and if you think the fire one is an exaggeration, explain spontaneous human combustion to me. But you know, immortality in a body is a recipe for insanity. Okay, I mean, it's just
Zardoz.
We're going to create these mad gods. I think they already exist, right? Mad gods.
Well,
How do we
listen.
know Tesla isn't one? That he wasn't actually born in 1899, and he isn't actually 123 years old, and they just rolled him back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, good.
Every problem that we see in the world is a lie. It's not really a problem. They solved these problems a long time ago, and they're just not telling us. It's the same thing with energy. The reason they can't let 8 billion people out of the technology matrix we live in now is, your buddy said it best, Jimmy Leo Zagami, because the next level of technology makes people autonomous because it interacts with consciousness. So there can't be any mind control in there. So they're going to kill everyone they don't like, and they're just going to take the world for themselves. This is the plan. Okay,
Well,
Epic is 100% right. And the killing has started. The vaccine is death.
Well,
okay?
speaking
And they
of
fooled-
mind control, tomorrow night we're going to be doing a show. You want to tune in 9 o'clock Pacific, right here, and Revolution Radio TalkStream Live. We're going to be talking about ultrasonic and subsonic harassment, gang stalking, and beyond. So make sure you come back for that. All right, listen. I got to go grab me something to eat. Any final words, boys, before we GTFO?
It's Thanksgiving. Go grab something to eat.
I know.
Absolutely.
Live long and prosper.
I know. All right. Well,
all right, be well.
See you guys tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Pacific. And
sounds good.
Sounds good, and we'll see you then. Take care.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.